Shalom, shalom, Yasharal, and Shabbat shalom, Mashpacha, shalom, shalom. Trust everybody's having an awesome prep yom as we enter into Arab Shabat, which is the evening before the Shabbat yom. And I just wanted to do a quick message on something I've been experiencing. I used to experience this all the time, and I completely forgot about it. And it probably has to do with the fact that, I've mentioned before that when you give into worldly things, there's an exchange of energy. Sometimes like you're giving it energy and you're giving it essence, you're giving it life. It's kind of robbing you of that, but it's an exchange. So what they're doing is, putting something to make you like forget. I guess you would say they're just pulling out remembrance of certain things that you knew, making it like it's just gone. You just don't remember no more because you entertain something and you just forget the other thing because you only have so much. Think of it like a phone that has a certain X amount of storage space, and in order to have a certain program, you have to delete a couple things. So in order to have the word in you, you have to give up some vanity, some like fleshly desires, some interest to make room for understanding, not just like make room to read it. I'm talking about like in deep indwelling understanding, oneness with the creator and oneness through the word, on a deeper level. And you have to give something up. But what the enemy does is he tries to bring up those ads and try to get you to re-download his programs again. So he'll put little distractions, entertaining things, the world, whatever it is. It might be anything: sex, drugs, alcohol, entertainment, you name it. Anything in the world. It can be hate. It can be racism. It can be anything. It can be anything. That's just not the word. And if you start to give into those paradigms, you start to take interest. It can be politics, it can be fake news, it can be all the political stuff, the media, whatever. You're giving into it. What's happening is you're making storage space to let all that stuff into you. So something's got to get deleted to make room for that. And what the hidden exchange is, like, sort of like signing a policy with fine print that you're not aware of what they're actually doing behind the scenes, kind of thing. Like there's some kind of agreement, like, well, if you agree to make room for some of this, then we have to take some of those things since you want to entertain that. Only you didn't really get to decide what they get to take away from you, and some of that ends up being very paramount truth. Experiences you've had and knowings and understanding in the ways we used to operate in the ruach, and it's like big deal stuff. Like, how do you forget that? And so that's what I'm here to talk about. Is I had this certain way of operating in the ruach that I used to do a lot, and I would. And what's crazy is I would still go back on memory, remember how that would happen, but not remember how I was doing it. I can remember I didn't have all the data anymore. I just remembered it like a memory. And basically what the memory was is, oh man, I remember being in PB homeless, out there at the park, and every time I started to praise Yah and get in the word and sing, it would get gloom. That's what I remember, because when you're out there homeless, it's hot. And I was like, man, yeah, man, all I want is it'd be nice if it'd be like nice and gloomy and windy and fresh. And I just remember, like, I would just read and it would start to get like gloom and windy again. And I'm like, what? And I remembered that. And so sometimes I would read and think, man, I wonder if that happens again. And it wouldn't necessarily happen. And something interesting happened today, though, where he reminded me how that was actually working. So I mentioned yesterday I had a little stumbling moment because my Facebook feed, the algorithms are always trying to tempt me. As soon as I get on, it's like throwing half naked women all day at me. I can't even get like a view in. Like I have to like torture my eyes and like strain them to scroll around things. So instead of doing that, I just give in and say, oh yeah, okay, great, big deal. So I just like try to like just be over it. It's not about trying to deviate from it, but maybe confront it and be like, whatever, I'm not interested. So, but nonetheless, yesterday, the enemy knows how to really get you. And so, yeah, I dwelt on something more than I should have. And it kind of took a lot of attention out of me, a lot of energy out of me. And I felt bad for that, convicted. So I repented. And I got really, like, firm about the word. And then there's Malakim Shamaim even here where I dwell, that I know the way they operate, like when they're being like, when they're kind of like initiating you, making sure that you're still strong and solid. um, One of them asked me like, like from a superficial, world experience paradigm type of way, like, oh, so what's your plan? You're gonna get a job and this and that, and that's sort of like testing to see if you're half half butt, right? Like one foot in, one foot out. Like you're gonna speak their language just to kind of like not weird them out for their sake. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try to find a job and this and that. You know, I'm still looking. I'm still, and you just kind of, and in a way, that's like messengers from Yahuwah kind of checking you to see if you're being fake or not. So at that moment, I was just feeling nothing but I'm tired of doing that. I'm just gonna keep it real to myself, to my paradigm. And I was like, nah, bro, I'm not even looking for a job right now. I'm just kind of sitting here waiting for the word of Yah. I'm waiting for him to guide me. You know, I'm just passing through, bro. Like, I just was like straight up. I just like, right now we're like threads from a tapestry, and we're creating a little knot. We're just passing through and weaving. We're interweaving right here in this moment. But I'm just on the path, following the word, waiting on His word for Him to guide me and lead me. So no, I'm not looking for a job. I'm just waiting for Him. And I said it so it almost came off almost borderline a hole, but more firm. Like I think what came off was like just the genuine realness, like not holding back, just saying it true to your belief, that kind of thing. And he felt that. And that's all I did. That ended up being the dude who got me the couple pair of shoes. That's what I was like, whoa. Like that's yeah, because as I was walking, like that's when he asked me. I think he might have asked me that before or after, but in that same moment, it was within that same moment. He was like, hey, he's like, I was like, what's up? He's like, what size shoes you wear? And I was like, oh, I don't know, I think like 10 and a half, something like that, because I got white feet. But yeah, but I didn't even think anything of that. That was just, I don't know, I didn't even remember he asked me. I was just like answering it and just walking off. Like I was just kind of like, I think he asked me at first, like, what size shoes you wear? And I was like, oh, 10 and a half. And then he's like, think about working at where you trying to get a job at. And that's when I got up and I was like, hey, I'm not looking, bro. I'm just waiting for the word of Yah. I was just passing through, and I just got up and left. And then Brock Yahuwah, for that firmness, I got rewarded. And I know that's what it was. He came back. He's like, hey, bro, don't trip. And I was like, what? Thank you. I was like, thank you, thank you. And he checked me. He did something that Malakim have done before for me. Malakim and Shamaim have done before. They go, don't thank me. They say, thank Yah. They always tell me, thank Yah. And and so I was like, yeah, praise Yah Yahusha. He said JC, but I noticed that um, they have to interject and fit the mold, like go according to the world program. So it's like I can sense it. Like honestly, intuitively, I can discern like they have to say that because that's the character mold that they're playing by. So they're gonna say those things according to the world. But I can in the Ruach, you can sense that he means like he's saying Yahusha too. Like the Yahusha. He's like, yeah, I think JC is like Yahusha. He's like whatever you call him. And but nonetheless, it was from Yah. Praise Yah. So took shoes and no afflictions. So everything's cool. So praise Yah. And after that, I was like, man, I still kind of felt bad about the stumble earlier. So I was like, you know what? I'm probably going to fast. I was going to eat a bowl of cereal, but I'm just probably going to fast it and just eat till tomorrow. And maybe this was the wrong voice, but I think it was. I think it would just want to do it this way. He's like, nah, it's cool. Don't fast. Just go ahead and eat. I got you. And I was like, all right. So I just went and ate a bowl of cereal. Like, he gave me shalom about it. And little did I know that I was running behind the time. It was almost 10. And then the Malak, another like a Yahusha type in the flesh. I say look kind of Asian, but he's Hispanic, but he has Asian features. But because that reminds me of describes King Dawood and King Solomon, King Shalimah kind of. And so, because they were from Ruth, Ruth was a Moabite. Moabites, study show related to Asians. So I always imagine like a little bit Asianized, but then like, you know, Dawood made European features, but Shalimah with more light tone features, the way it describes in the Song of Songs. Nonetheless, he came and he was gentle and he led me back in, mentioned that, and it was this ambience of the Ruach, and I was like, that's cool, praise Yah. And and I just followed suit. I humbled myself because I got checked, man. Like, when I had stumbled, all of a sudden one of the manager dudes asked me to do a little breath test, breathalyzer thing, and he was just being like a little bit rude, and he's never been rude. I'm like, why is he being so rude? And of course, now I learned to just trust. Like now I know I'm talking to Yah. Like I've done this so many times, messed up so much where like with little stumbles in it's the same program. The rock's like, well, your stumble, this is like a manifestation of getting checked for that. Because he's like, I texted you to come and take your test and you didn't respond, da 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 da. Like, we do this all the time. Like, oh, like, I've never, my phone wasn't even connected. Like, you always have to give me, I'm like, I didn't say nothing. He's like, so just knock it off. And when he said that, he wasn't talking about knock it off, like, you know, um, like with like missing the messages or not coming to the drug test, like being late on it. He meant like knock it off, like stop giving in to the shenanigans, like stop letting yourself be pulled in. And so you always have to look at things in that way. Like when something's happening, it's not actually speaking to you about what they're literally saying. It's speaking to your inner walk, like your inner conscious, like your stumblings, your failings, it's correcting those things. You need to be mindful of that, like see it that way, and it's real. And so it's like, because I looked at it, it's like I came out of the secret place for a while, so it gave him rights to kind of like check me. But then like once I repented and followed suit, you know um, even though I was running late going in, I think it would allow that to show me like how his protective covering, because then he couldn't say nothing to me, because as long as you're doing the right thing, you're in his trust, you're in his love, you're being mindful, conscious, you're connected. It's like they can't really do anything unless Yahuwah really allows. But I was running late. He couldn't, like, bro, really, like, you're outside and it's past 10. It was like 10:02. He had the right to say something. He could have, and he might have. But I felt because the dude came, Yahusha manifested and back in the Ruach, and that was like a manifestation who will bring me back into his realm. All he could do was just like look at me like he can't, like he wanted to, but he couldn't, like he wasn't allowed to anymore. Like even though we're face to face, there was like a chasm. Like he was in another realm where he couldn't necessarily see me or touch me no more. And so it wouldn't do nothing to say anything, because even though we're inches away, we're light years away. You know what I mean? At the same time, because like the scriptures say, a day is 1,000 years to Yah, and 1,000 years as a day. That's in regards to time, space is, you would only think is the same way. He wants us to figure that out. So like this universe, if a day is 1,000 years and 1,000 years a day, then this entire universe is like an atom, and that means all the atoms all around you are universes to the other side of quantum, because time and space are infinite. So even though he's right in front of me, spiritually, cosmic realm wise, through that projection, I'm in an entire realm altogether. So it's like it can manifest energy to harm me, because we're not even in the same world at that moment. It's just projections in the same trans realm, projections of each other, but not at all together. So it's like that. All right. So nonetheless, I went to sleep, woke up, and normally I wake up kind of early. Lately, I've been lagging a little bit. Past couple of days, only because the day before I was sore because I worked out a lot, and then I went to the beach and got the sun drained me. It was a hot day, and it really drained me. So I needed, like, man, so I slept in the day before. And then yesterday, I don't know, I just felt this peace, like, just, Yahuwah gave me little dreams, little visions, and finally got up. Normally I get up early anyways because I'm hungry. I'm like ready to eat. I woke up and I wasn't hungry. I'm like, okay, whatever. I went to the kitchen, like slightly, just kind of doing a walkthrough, I guess, to see if I feel in the mood to eat. And I just wasn't. Actually, as a matter of fact, I was kind of turned off at the idea. Like, it made me, like, I knew if I even thought of that, like, focused on that thought more, I would have felt sick of it, like nauseous almost. Like, I don't want to eat. I'm tired of eating. So I just, like, you know what? I had to take this care of this ticket thing with my bus. I got on a trolley like a couple days ago when I went to the beach, and they stopped me and gave me a ticket on the way back. So they said I can clear it for free. So I went to do that downtown. Um, and so after I did that, and they're not gonna clear it, but I can do community service, 3 hours of volunteering time at the food bank. So I think that's cool. At least I get to, like, you know, be a part of that. So it worked out for Dove. Like, I need to be more contributing to society in that way, doing some volunteer stuff. That's cool. So that's what he was showing me. So I still hadn't eaten. I did that, and then I rode around, and by this time it was like 11. I'm like, you know what? Let me go to the store. I gotta buy some things. I wanted to get like, I got lunch meat, but I got no cheese to make a sandwich. So I've been eating sandwiches because I got no cheese. Like all this lunch meat, I got bread, and it's all starting to get old. So let me buy some cheese and maybe some trail mix or something, something like that. Some fruit bars, I don't know, something. So I finally go to Rouse, and on my way there, I'm just staying meditating. I haven't eaten, mind you. And I think that's what Yahusha was trying to show me that when he said he got me. I didn't put two and two together, but I think the fact that I haven't eaten, just pushing it that extra more time and getting along with Yah, because I left my phone. I wasn't thinking about my phone. I wasn't checking my phone. I don't have internet to check anyway. So it just created that perfect storm, that perfect precipitation, that ecosystem, if you will, if you shall, or it was just the right elements, having like no food in my stomach because the food feeds the flesh in a way and it kind of empowers it. So it's like my flesh was still kind of shut down, dormant. It wasn't being powered up, and the phone kind of stimulates you too in a way. That was down, and I was just riding. I was enjoying the nature, and that usually helps connect with Yah. Like when you look at nature and stuff, and you're just alone on a ride kind of thing. And before I know it, I was just praising. I just started singing and just reflecting on things, and there was this little organization. Before I went to the store, I did stop because I saw this little feed going on the street where they're like giving out food and they're like giving a message, and there was the what we call the New Age paganism, the lost done away with, the JC lawlessness stuff, the real anti-Mashiach, anti-Messiah. So I just went up straight to where they were feeding to the tables, and I was like, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" There was a cop that pulled up there too because he was checking them out, and I told the cop, "Hey," I told the officer, watch this," because I wanted him to see. I wanted everybody to see this because I want to make sure like the truth is known right now. I don't care. I'm raising that shofar, making the sins known, the lies known, the falsehood. I said, "Hey, uh, y'all are Christian, right? Are believers?" And like, yeah, and like y'all believe the law's done away with? And like the law, I mean, yeah, it's done away with. We're not under the law. I'm like, what? And like we're supposed to be grafted in. Yeah, we're grafted in as Gentiles, so but we're not Jews. Like, we're grafted in, it makes you part of Israel, so you're part of the commandments too. Messiah said, "I did not come to do away with the law of Nabim, but to fulfill it means to raise a standard on it, so we're still to keep it." And then he was saying whatever he said, we're giving examples, and he really had no examples, just saying what preachers just say, but it's not in the scriptures. I was actually quoting scriptures. These are scriptures that I was quoting verbatim. And I told him that's why Yahushua said, a multitude shall say on that day, did we not do all these wondrous works like what y'all are doing, feeding the homeless and all this and all these kind deeds? And he shall say, depart from me, I never knew you, breakers of the law, workers of lawlessness, breakers of lawlessness. First John 3 says, sin is lawlessness. So he gives the key to it, the codes we can put all together. When you say law's done away with, that's that's the lawlessness, breaking of the law, of his law, not government law, like his commandments. So it's like, oh, do we not do all these awesome things? Hey, you got LGBT groups, you got witchcraft, sorcerers, Satanists that do kind deeds for people and do all this nice stuff. What are you different from they? Like what defines you're my people apart from the other religions and virtues and ideologies is that you keep my commandments. No one, what makes a distinction is you're resting on Saturday, Sabbath, not the first day, the day that the pagans worship, the Sunday that Constantine, the Council of Nicaea, tells you clearly that they changed the Sabbath from the seventh day to Sunday. That happened way after Messiah at the year 531 A.D., way long after Messiah, to come to unite the world in one religion. All right, we're going to keep the idea of the Sabbath. We're going to do it on the day that the pagans worship the sun day, the sun god, the sun deities, and to simulate everything together and adopt this pagan tree day and this day with the egg and the bunnies and all that, and it's all nothing to do with the Bible. And so I told him that, and I said, that's why he's gonna say, like, you're gonna say, did we not do all this awesome stuff in your name? And he's just like, man, you undermining my commandments. Like, so what? You did some right works, like, but you didn't care enough to keep my commandments. That's what it was about. Matthew 5:17. Don't think I came to do away with the law and the commandments, the Nabim, the prophets. I didn't come to do away with them. I came to raise a standard on it. For it is written, don't commit adultery. But I say, if you look at anyone lustfully, sexually, with sexual intentions, then you're committed to doing it. You already committed it in your heart. It's already counted as sexual adultery. So I didn't come to do away with it, but to raise the standard. you know. And that was it, And then I think that's what fueled me. After that, I wrote off, and I was kind of bummed out because I don't do this out of hate. This is like so they know. I make sure to give a clear warning because like strong coach gives you strong word. Make sure that you hear it. You correct in love. If there's a burning building, you're not gonna be like, hey, guys, I don't know if you know, but the building's on fire. I don't know if y'all feel like y'all want to go out, if y'all want to think about coming out, but it's burning down. So but I'm gonna go. But I'll see y'all later. But it's burning down. But I guess I'll see you later. Just so you know. Nah, you're like, hey man, the fire's this building is burning. You get out. Come on, let's go. Like that's the truth. And so that's basically in the context of when we share those truths, is the feeling, the essence of where we're saying it from. It's like you're in a burning building, we're trying to pull you out, but you have to do it by your belief. You're like like trusting the word, like otherwise you're staying in that burning building because you don't believe it. So what can we do? So nonetheless, I wrote off being sad. I think Yahuwah, that's why he filled me with music, with praise in my, or not music, because Mew has that muse like to not think, word incantations, but he filled me with shiri, with shirin music songs. Filled me with shirin songs, shirin. So Yahusha filled me with the shirim at that time, and I was just praising Yah at that time, and what ended up happening was I ended up checking the time, and it was like 11:57 at a few minutes before I could break my fast. Oh, so what ended up happening was I remembered I didn't eat nothing. I'm like, and then Yahuwah spoke to me at that moment. I was like on the way to the store, and he's like, yeah, you mentioned about fasting last night, and I told you no, go ahead and eat because I was gonna take that fasting from you right now in the Baka and the rising till 12 p.m. noon, and that's what fueled my the Shireen. So the lesson I'm trying to give is like, when you abstain even just a little while, like skip a meal, and you're off the phone, no coffee. Like I think coffee might hinder that ruach, but then you go out, find a deed to do. Like I confronted those false the pagan teachers like right there, and I was yelling at them like in love, but I was like letting everybody in line know, don't let them teach you the laws done away with, and I shared all that scripture with them, and then not being on food, not being on the phone, no coffee, sharing the word, just connecting with Yah. Boom, I'm praising. I'm in this other realm to the next level. So I'm praising where I'm seeing Malachim of the Shamayim on earth. Like I'm seeing that, like I'm in that realm hidden in Yahusha, like in the messages I've been sharing. And the one about the doctors like putting you in that realm. So I was there, and but I said sometimes we gotta pull those people out. So I had to eat my own words and actually do that very thing because I went to the store and I was just like, I'm gonna trust him that the Ruach have his way and not be ashamed because I was still fueled, still moved by the Ruach when I went into the store. So I went into Rouse. I still had song shirim in me, songs. I was singing. I went in there and I was singing like I was almost like the recompense for what I was talking about the other videos when I used to do that in other alternate universe realities with for like the world singing to them, and like they started dancing in the street like in those constructs like the women and all that. Well, this is to make up for that. Now I'm doing it for Yahuwah only. Like it's just me and him, and I'm singing to him, and everything's kind of like moving out the way, kind of like receiving it, like in the ambience, like I can feel everybody like really enjoying it, like my camera showing up, like just looking at things, but you can feel them like feeling it. And I'm just singing through the aisles. The songs that are playing over the intercom are going with it, like kind of like you've seen the videos in the past, like during Sakut and all that. When I would start to preach or teach or sing, the background music was going with it, and I was singing with it, and it was just instrumentals too. So I was doing that in the Rouse, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're in the Shamayim realm. So everybody's just looking at me smiling because they're just seeing me in my own world. Like, look how comfortable he is. He ain't holding back. He ain't ashamed. Like he's trusting what he's in right now, that he's in that realm. So I may look like a projection of a grocery store, but I'm before the throne of Yah. Like that was the lyrics to my songs, my sharim was like, I'm singing alone. I'm praising you, even at the praise you all alone, even at the praise you on the in this alone on the open road. I'm praising before your throne. I'm in your hands. You're ever before me, no matter where I am, kind of stuff. And what's interesting about those moments is they're never as great as when they're just like intimate between you and Yah alone in those moments wherever you are. Like you can't go on the phone and try to replicate it or duplicate it and do it, even if you're trying something new. It just won't come out the same because I think those things are designed by Yah to be more intimate between you and Him. But then when you're trying to do in the phone, it doesn't have the same essence, the same strength. It's just not the same, as potent, and it's more secret place there because he doesn't want to. And so that tells me he's for us not being so much on our phone because he gives me the best of it when I'm away from the phone, not eating. Like when I take time, like just to like not eat. He did that for me. He gave me a desire not to eat today because he wanted to fast me today so I can connect with him. So he made me do it and or draw me to it, but I listened to him. And so I'm singing, I'm finally checking out, and I'm finally ready to break the fast. I sit outside. They have a little court spot where you can sit out. And, I look, and there's a few minutes left, so I'm going to just finish the song. I'm offering the song up. It's about 12 o'clock p.m. Finally, I can break the fast, so I'm singing the last part of it, and I'm offering it up. And as soon as I'm done, I give it up, and I'm ready to eat. I notice a lady's she's putting up her groceries parked right in front of the court thing that sits on the street, like where the cars can park. So she's right across from me, like, not too far away. But she's looking at me, she's like smiling, taking it in. And she wasn't like a Malaka the Shamaim. She had more of like a natural realm projection. Like she was just like from the natural realm watching and taking it in and enjoying it. Because as soon as she was like, she looked and said something like that was very cool to see. um, a guy in a wheelchair came like to ruin the moment. So remember, I said in other messages that I typed up, like it's like playing chess. As soon as we're done making our move, it's like those chess games where you make your move and then you hit the thing, the clock, and then it's like how fast you can make your move and hit the chess. Kind of goes to the point. So as soon as I was offering it up, that Satan was already sitting in his pawn, right, the chess piece. Like we're the vessels of light, and Satan's moving his little black chess piece and making his move, and there was a dude in a wheelchair coming through just as I offered up, and she was commenting, "That was awesome." This dude's coming through. Guess what song playing out loud on his wheelchair speaker? The devil went down to Georgia or whatever with the fiddle. It was like devil went down, and it was I ain't gonna sing it, but it was like with the fiddle, and it was like dan dan, and I was just like praising on no, but she was like, I looked at her like kind of like making eye contact, like don't listen to it, and she's kind of like she stopped like, huh? Like I'm like, oh, she's actually listening. Like I thought she was just gonna like, oh, whatever, I'm gonna keep putting my groceries up. But she was like wondering what just happened. Like she caught on to what I was doing. Like kind of like nope, like I like went away from that. And I said, ma'am, I was not booing. Sometimes I not boo like those crazy guys that look like they're talking to themselves but talking to you, but no one's really listening to them. She was actually listening and she was hearing. I could tell she was like, I'm like, oh wow, she's actually understanding what I'm saying. I was like, yeah, I was like I was like, no, no. And I said, I'm like, this is like chess. I was like, we're making those moves of light right now. When I offered up the praise, when I offered up the song, it's like making a move for the side of Yah as a pawn of light. As soon as you make that move, pawn of light, boom, chess, the enemy's going to move his pawn. That was his pawn right there that came through to distract you, to pull you out of the realm of the presence of Yah. As long as you're in the presence of Yah, you're entertaining the things of Yah, entertaining his word, the word of Yah, what's pure, what's praiseworthy, and in line with Yah. You're in his presence, in his realm, but the enemy's always going to send that distracting word, that distracting opposition, that it's going to be funny, it's going to be witty, it's going to be entertaining, it's going to distract you, it's going to be the lust of the eyes, pride of high, it's going to be, oh, look how cool this is, how fun and entertaining. You look at that, it's going to draw your consciousness out of the presence of Yah, out of his realm. It's going to put you in that dark demonic realm. You're going to be part of that worldly realm. It's going to be set and destroyed for destruction, all the shenanigans. As I was saying that, in the midst of that, another crazy lady came out, like a lady, like crazy according to that paradigm. starting yelling like at her because she was listening to what I was saying. And she's like, "Don't listen to it. You shut." Like she was trying to like throw her off. I'm like, "See, there it goes. Like I made the move, the praise, right? That was my move." And then he came through. I came through with the song. Now the saint came through with the song, and I came through with the word to tell you like, "Hey, don't listen to that." Now she's coming with the word to distract you from what I'm saying, but you're still listening. I'm like, "Don't listen to her." She's like, she was looking at me like she understood. Like I just that moment flipped her entire world upside down. And she's like, she just got in her car. I was like she just kept looking at me and not looking at her. Like, don't look at her, don't listen to her. And she's just like, okay. She's like, okay. She got in her car. She's like, and she just drove off. Like, what the heck is going on? But she understood. Like, what I share on here is like, as soon as you entertain the thing of light, you give up your praise, you give up. Then there's something like, oh, cool. Now you enjoy to have a cheat day. Like it's almost like that cheat day scenario. Like you work out so much. Now you can treat yourself. You deserve to treat yourself to some cake and ice cream because you don't worked out so hard. That kind of dynamic is what the enemy tries to use in us according to the ways of Yah, according to truth. We just praised, we just did this, we just shared. All of a sudden, now he's gonna bring. Oh, you want to preach the word? Like for dudes, he might bring a hot girl that you have to witness to, and then try to get like she might be flirty, and it's like, oh, well, I'm sharing the word, so I mean, I guess I gotta be a little, what I'm saying, and that's how the enemy tries to trip you up, but you got to keep firm, in those moments too, and nonetheless, that's what it is. If you overcome those, it stays that Shamayim realm projection. Then it gives you power. Power from Shamayim starts to come and overcast, starts to overshadow that world, because we know that the world, it's slowly getting destroyed. People are dropping like dominoes in a sense. This is the destruction already. It was already pouring out the wrath. It's beginning with the house and it's going on the world. It's here a little, here there a little. Everybody's getting kind of afflicted until whoever's left standing. And we know one of those destructions in the end, and it comes in phases, is like we see the sun thing, right? There was that sunburst that came and it got really hot for like a day, and that's already warning us. But some people are getting really sunburned out there with that, and that's the fourth bowl in the seven bowls of Revelation, the destruction. It says that the fourth bowl, I saw the fourth bowl poured out, and it was poured out on the sun to strike it was poured on the sun so that the sun had authority to strike the earth with great heat, so that people were like burning alive on fire, because that's how hot the sun's going to get. But what does Yashayahu Isaiah 32 say? Isaiah 32, it says, a sovereign shall reign in righteousness, and rulers rule with him in right ruling. And each one of those rulers that rule with him shall be as a divine protective hiding place from the heat of the sun, from the destruction of the world. They shall be as Mayim, waters of living Chai, the Ruach, for the people, so that they can be refreshed by the word. It's all parabolic. They shall be as the shadow of a great rock in a hot, weary land. So that's to say, when I was like sharing all that and didn't give in, she didn't give in, just preaching the word, and I started singing after that, after I ate, and I stayed praising. All of a sudden, it was getting sunny out there again. All of a sudden, this overcast just came, and it was like, as I was walking, it was following me. Like the shade was like, it just kept coming with me, and everybody saw that. Everybody's like, what? And I was just like, yeah, who was bringing destruction? Because you're dysfunction. And I was just like freestyling and singing and going like the ruach, and everybody was like, whoa. And I was doing different things. Like the first, right after that, was like, I think the lyrics I was singing was like, something like, it's just one of those kick back, chill back, take it easy kind of days. Yeah. And I was like, see, in the moment, it was awesome. Everybody, and it manifested because they were into one of the streets I turned into when I was doing that one. They're filming a movie and like a chase scene with the car going, and they had the cameras rolling, and I ended up being in the background singing, like riding a bike alongside while they're doing that, and it's like they yell cut, but they were all looking at me. They all stayed like looking at me, like smiling, and they're just filming. Like I could tell they're still filming me. They're like keep recording him, but it's like a projection of the Malakim, the Shamayim, like you got all eyes watching you from above, that it just has to materialize and manifest somewhere on the earth, because so much of that is being projected that energy, it's gonna have to take a manifested shape. So it just manifested in that. It just happened that there was a movie shooting there. They're like recording me, but I was just riding in that vibe, like in a chill back, kick back kind of day music video. How it goes like. It's just a kick back, chill back, take it easy kind of day. Hey, and I was like, so we praise Yahoo, so we praise Yahuwah, so we praise Yahusha, cause it's a kick back, chill back, take it easy kind of day. Hey, and so we praise Yahuwah, and so we praise Yahusha, cause it's a kick back, chill back, take it easy kind of day. Hey, something like that. And that's when everybody's coming out. It was kind of like that thing where, people are dancing in a way. You can feel the vibe. Like, it's kind of like, at least you see it projected that way. There's a rhythm in those words, the rhythm it projects in the ambience, like in the realm. The birds are flying to it, what I'm saying? See the birds kind of like the butterflies and everything kind of like going with it, and just everything moving, and the camera thing, the movie they're shooting. And I was like, all right. And I don't know what stimulated me to talk about the judgment. I don't know if I saw something, but that's just part of the context of the coming. Like, yeah, he's coming back, and he's bringing judgment, bringing destruction. I don't know what, but I just kept doing that. And then as soon as I started doing that, I felt like Yahuwah was advocating, because then all of a sudden the gloom started coming and overcasted the entire sky, and it was moving with me like. And it reminded me of like Desperado. I always, like I was saying, movies seem to have a glimpse of those moments. Like where it talks about Desperado, where it seems like where he walks in, Quentin Tarantino's telling a story in the opening scene with Antonio Banderas, and he says, and it seemed like just like he's about to walk into the light, so you can finally get a good look at it, so his face can be revealed. It's like the darkness would just like cover him, like the lights were dim just for him. And that came to mind right now. Like that's how it was when I was out there, and the gloom was just starting to overcast, and everybody's like looking. And so I made that part of the theme too. I was like, we're bringing gloom and destruction because you're dysfunction. Praise Yah, praise Yah, praise Yah, Yahuwah, Yahusha. Just rhythms and just freestyling it all, but just telling stories, giving parables, giving scripture, just doing it, praise Yah, the Ruach. And as long as I kept doing that, the gloom kept coming, and it stayed with me all the way till I got back here to the property. And then I went in the backyard. I kind of like calmed down, and then it started, like the sun started coming out a little bit. And then so I was like, you know what? I heard the construction workers are talking and whatever. I'm like, you know what? They seem like a great audience, great like little, state or arena. Let me give them the word. And I said, Yeshayahu, Isaiah 32 says the sovereign shall reign in righteousness, and rulers rule with them in right ruling. And each one of those rulers are going to be like a divine protective hiding place, like shade from the heat of the destruction. Da, da, da. So as soon as I started doing that, guess what started happening? Because I believed and trusted. Boom! It started getting shade again. Like the overcast started coming, and they got quiet. Like what? And it started happening. And I was like, yeah. And then all that to say, I remembered now how that was happening in PB. See, tying it back to the end, because I remember like, man, I remember I used to like read and it'd get gloomy, but I don't remember exactly how or what was happening or why. But now I remember at that time I didn't have my phone either. Like I would detach from my phone. That's when I gave up my phone. This entire Bakar, this rising to this point, I didn't have my phone on. I didn't even check my phone. I stayed off of it. It's like once you give into the phone, it kind of like voids out your charge to do something for Shamayim for the day. In a sense, kind of like it kind of, what's the word they say? Like it discharges you or whatever. Like, yeah, those terms. Like it takes off the charge or whatever. But I hadn't touched my phone yet, and so I was talking about that. I was like singing about it. I was like, watch, I'm gonna try to get on my phone and Nabu and sing, and it ain't gonna work because it's gonna like deactivate that Ruach charge, because it's not meant for the phone. It's meant for just like being kosher, right, and just doing it in the Ruach. And And yeah, as soon as I started grabbing my phone and trying to get Wi-Fi and all that, the sun started coming back out again. And like, I knew it started deactivating the that power. And so all that to say, like, praise is our weapon. Like, what does that mean? It means exactly that. When you're speaking the truth, it's getting a little gloom a little bit. It's through praise. Like, the more measured, the more you're saying what Yahuwah wants you to say, the more you're on point with him, he'll bring that gloom. But that gloom isn't necessarily destruction. It's you're protecting yourself. It's a hiding place. You're putting that secure blanket over you because, again, Yashayahu Isaiah 32 says, a sovereign shall rule in righteousness, and rulers rule with him in right ruling. And each one of those rulers shall be as a divine protective hiding place from the heat of the destruction. So if you're ruling rightly, you're saying the right word, you're speaking his word as truth, you're bringing the right message, you're doing it fearlessly, you're not ashamed, you're operating right, not being all on the phone, and you're just like projecting his essence from Shamayim on earth, he's going to bring that divine protective covering for you and the people. Because one thing I remembered, I petitioned years ago when I was on the street, when I was street preaching a lot, sharing a lot. I just kept getting rejected, and nobody was coming to the truth. Like, nobody, and anybody else would have got, like, I was tempted to get irritated, but I was like, you know what, yeah. I still care for the people. I still have love for them. Like, if there's still any way for them to be saved, please. Like, I don't want to see anybody have to die. Like, it'd be nice if there's any way they can still be saved. And he's like, because you said that, because you kind of searched out my love, like, there's a essence to that. There's some truth to that. uh, he led me like to Yashayahu, Isaiah 32. See Isaiah 32, like, he was just like, he didn't say that right then and there, but he's like, there's truth to that. Like, there's a plan for that, and I'm gonna lead you to it. You're gonna find it. And it was shortly after that I saw it, and he's like, that's you. That's what you petition for. Is like, because you have love for people for your sake, I'm gonna bring a divine protective covering, for the rulers that rule with me, the rulers that rule with Yahusha in righteousness and right ruling shall be a divine protective covering for the esteem of Yahuwah, operating in his esteem, but it's to show his compassion for the people too. Like, that's our have our compassion for them regardless. During the time as we transition to the millennial year reign, not all of them go. I mean, scripture says that we're gonna have to have servants too, right? So the first will be last, last will be first. So it's like, the children of the oppressors now have to serve us. So I mean, they can't all die off, and so I don't want them to. With compassion, hey, yeah, we gotta have people, right, to serve. I mean, and I don't want them to be afflicted by the heat, and he's like, yeah, because you gotta have like, your compassion is gonna be like a protective shade for them, and I'm gonna choose who, and that's on me. But who you get, and it's gonna be the right type of people, and I'm seeing that, because all he allows me to run into is that glimpse where I'm running into worldly people that aren't even necessarily believers. They can be atheists, they can be whatever, but they're very nice, they're very respectful, they got a tubla, they got tu intentions, and that's where he'll show me the other blueprint to that. The other side of that is like, those that don't necessarily believe, trust in that way, have that relationship, don't have that desire to be a part of the nation, to be, a part of Yashara, part of the belief system, the religious system, the laws of Yah in that way. But do want to at least be respectful and mindful and courteous about it. They find their place where scriptures say, I'll barak those who barak you. I'll favor those who favor you and curse those who curse you. And Yahuwah speaks to them in that element. Like, they know and perceive. They're like, oh, I have a discerning, I feel something about this person, and he's special. So I'm going to do due to him, and so that's why I think I find a lot of compassion and favor is nothing I'm doing except that Yahuwah is well pleased with me, and probably speaks it to them, inspires them. Hey, this is one of my servants. Like, look after him, be kind to him, be gentle with him, and he's my bond. And so they like do those kind deeds. We see gentleman last night got me some shoes and whatnot. I didn't ask. He didn't say anything. He said, "What's your shoe size?" That's it, and walked off. Other than trying to get a job, and I was like, "Nah, man, I'm just waiting for the word of Yah. I'm just passing through." That's what I said. So you gotta be firm about your paradigm, and that gets you the rewards because you're not being ashamed. You're still speaking the word of Yah in one sense. So these are examples I'm giving you how I operate. I just keep it real like that. I try to at least. I don't like when I have those moments. Like, you know what? Let me just be real. And I'm just gonna say the truth. So I'm gonna speak the word like this way, and it gets you rewards. Who rewards that courage, that firmness. He likes that being a man about it, tenacious about it, being, like that about it, and that's what gets you rewarded. And nonetheless, they know, like, they know Yahuwah speaks to them. I barak you if you barak my servant, but don't mess with him. I curse you if you curse him. If you harm him, I'm a I'm a I'm a I'm a require of you. I'm gonna pay you back. So that's their version of belief, trust, obedience. Like, they're not necessarily. They're gonna have to do it eventually, as he will brings us all to that point. Once every knee has to bow. But right now, like, that if they're not trying to be any part of it and whatsoever, not trying to hear and convert, the least they can do is they recognize it. Like Yeshayahu Isaiah 60 says, uh, your light has shined, and the Gentiles see it, and they shall come to the brightness of your rising. You shine like the dry bones risen out of the grave now, like it's poetic, right? We're shining before them through our Torah keeping, become a light to the nations. Behold, your light has come, your light has risen upon the nations, and they all come to you bearing gifts. The wealth of the sea is brought to you. Sovereigns come in procession bringing the best. Even Facebook. And I feel like we're men, and there's another paradigm, another part of this dynamic that speaks of replenishing the earth. 7 women cling to 1 man, the righteous elect. That's for another time, but I say it all the time. It's part of it. And so even right now, I think that's what Yahuwah is using Facebook to show me, like, kind of like I guess the parable would be like Rush Hour 2, when they go to Heaven on Earth. We'll just use that as a parable. Shamayim on Earth, right? Massage parlor with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. And then they get the selection, like, ooh, I'm gonna need her because I got my back. I'm hurt. Ooh, and her too. Ooh, let me get that one. And Jackie Chan, hurry up. He's like, hey, man, you don't just push man in front of a buffet line. He's like, yeah. So, anyways, that seems funny, but like all those are like little glimpses of the restoration of every. It's all coded. Every movie, for the most part, everything has an essence of the truth coded in there. If you are subscribed to the word, you know your word, you know your sword well. You'll see those moments when they manifest in like movies, and they'll speak to you like reality will speak it to you according to how well you know your word. If you don't know your word, you're not gonna recognize it. It's just gonna be random things happening all around you with whatever you got going on. But if you know the book, then you'll recognize when it's speaking to you, like a certain dynamic of the restoration of Yasharal and stuff like that. But one thing I feel that to actually share, to keep in context with the message, so we can see that for ourselves in the scripture, is Yashayahu Isaiah. Uh, I believe it's chapter 30 or 31, but I want to say 30. So let's go to Yashayahu 30 real quick. And this is going to be a great example of praise being our weapon. And it's actually our 432. So ironically, that's the main thing I've been talking about is chapter 32. So we're going to read those just so we get some tactile, tangible evidence on that, so we know I'm not just making this up. We're going to read it real quick so y'all can understand. That's what it's talking about. So this is Yashayahu Isaiah 32 or 30, and I actually read this for Shabbat every week anyway. So, let's see. All right, verse 15, Yashayahu Isaiah 15 starts the context of the restoration of the Torah and returning back to his laws and commandments, using the Sabbath as an example. For thus said the Adon Yahuwah, the Qudashym one of Yasharal, in returning to what? His Torah's commandments, and returning and rest you are saved. What is the rest? The Sabbath rest. So in returning to Torah, returning to Yahuwah, Yahusha, through the renewed covenant, the blood covering of Yahusha, and keeping Torah, and resting in him and the Sabbath, having that secure expectation, you're saved. Just talking about stillness and trust is your strength. Stillness, quietness, and trust. So you ain't got to do too much. Just trust him and just do what you got to do, and he'll take care of the rest. Just be in him, do the bare minimum if possible. Sometimes we're doing too much. The more you're overloaded, like I was talking about when I have the phone or a meeting, that's enough charge to decharge, the ruach of Nabuah and all this stuff in me to bring the power to bring the overcast and the divine protective covering the realm, and the arats, But just be still, trusting in Yah, waiting on Him, and stillness and trust is your strength. That's your strength. That's your weapon. We're going to see more. Watch about the praise. But you would not. You don't want to be those who would not. You want to be those who do. And you said no, for we flee. See, that's where you're doing too much. For we flee upon horses, therefore you flee. And we ride on swift horses, therefore those who pursue you are swift. That's like the people that any little thing they hear in the news, oh, there's a shortage of food, EBT's getting cut out, whatever, and they're ready to flee to the mountains. It's like, no, just stillness and trust is your strength. Just wait on Yahusha. He wants you to be a light in the nations, not hidden away and trying to, you're freaking out like the world is. You're no different. You're just supposed to just do what you do and trust Yah, and yeah, possible try to get out of the system if you can, but if not, you got kids to provide, so everybody's thing is a little different. But nonetheless, the main thing is to remain calm, because that shaking, fear, and anxiety is of the enemy. It shows that you don't trust Yah. That's what the enemy does. He shakes. But we trust, so we stay firm and we stay trustworthy even when things are getting bad, even to the point when the flood is about to overtake us. We see that fire coming, the wave is coming to swipe us out. You take a breath and you say, here we are, Yahushua, and try to remain in peace. And before you know it, it's like you might have gotten pulled out. He might have raptured you up by then. He might wait for that to that very last second to rapture you. So you gotta be that prepared. But trust, maybe he's not gonna do it that way. But if you train that way, you know what I'm saying, then you'll be ready for anything. You know what I mean? All right. So continuing though, here's where I want to get to, and he says, all right. Let's go to, here we go. Yeah. Verse 27, see, the name of Yahuwah is coming from afar, burning with his wrath and heavy smoke. His lips shall be filled with rage, and his tongue be as a devouring fire, and his breath shall be as an overflowing stream that reaches up to the neck, to sift the nations with the sieve of falsehood, delusion. He's gonna allow them to give themselves over to delusion. Oh, yes, what you want to believe? I'll make it seem so real for you, because that's what you want, because you don't want me. It ain't about they wanted the truth. They just wanted anything but him, and anything they could rationalize to be truth, they'll take it. And a misleading bridle on the jaws of the peoples. Let this song be to you. Now it's contrasting, that's for the wicked, but for the righteous, let this song be to you as in a night Qudashym, dedicated for a festival and gladness of Lab, as he who is going with a flute. Sound like praising to me, sound like samacha, sound like gladness, sound like dancing to me. As he who is going with the flute to come into the mountain of Yahuwah, to the rock of Yasharal, and Yahuwah shall cause his excellent voice to be heard. So in this time while you're praising and giving esteem with the flute, Yahuwah shall cause his excellent voice to be heard, and show the coming down of his arm with what? With raging wrath and the flame of a consuming fire, with scattering of the nation of the people, scattering of hailstone coming down, and downpour and hailstones. He's coming with, again, as a consuming fire, the flame of a consuming fire, with scattering and downpour, the downpour of destruction, and hailstones. For through the voice of Yahuwah, Ashur is broken down. So Ashur is just parabolic. That was for them at that time, a nation, but it symbolizes people in the last days with that same rebellious nature. And they shall be broken down with the rod he smites them. And now listen to this. Here it is. And every passage of the ordained staff that Yahuwah lays on him shall be with tambourines and lyres when he shall fight with it, battling with the brandishing arm. What is that saying? It's saying when he comes down for destruction, he's coming down with his own theme song. He's coming down with a procession, with a parade of instruments, with not just the last trumpet, but with tambourines and lyres. Every passage of the ordained staff, he's coming with the staff to smite, like the rod of iron, but it's with with tambourines and lyres, with music. So it's going to be rejoicing for the righteous, but destruction for the wicked. It's going to be the song of dread. It's going to be that song they don't want to hear, but it'll be a parade for us, for the righteous. And every passage of the ordained staff that Yahuwah lays on him shall be with tambourines and lyres, when he shall fight with it, battling with the brandishing arm. For Tufath, that is a Hebrew, a body for the valley of fire, was ordained of old. Even for the sovereign it has been prepared, for the elite, those in charge. He has made it deep, and a Satan himself. And as he has made it deep and large, its fire pit with much wood. The breath of Yahuwah, as a stream of burning sulfur, is burning it, and does kindle it. In the other translations, does kindle it. So you see that? This is where praise is our weapon. We praise him, and it just, the more we praise, the more we can stay in him. It brings on his coming. Yahuwah is waiting for us to get our bandstand, parade, procession in praising, to bring down his destruction and his salvation. So when we get our praise right, he's trying to unite us in the Ruach to be constantly like that. He's bringing the end. But look what it says for the righteous, though, how it protects us, and for our sake, the areas we're at. This is at Yashayahu, Isaiah 32, just a chapter over. Well, because 31 is a small chapter, but it goes off into idols and whatnot. But 32 picks up after the context of chapter 30, what we just read. It says, see, a sovereign shall reign in righteousness. That's what I was just talking about. A sovereign shall reign in righteousness. Who's that sovereign? Yahusha. And rulers, who are those rulers? That's us, the elect, 144,000, the righteous. Who are desiring to be us, right? Because we all desire for these positions. We just want to rule and reign with him and be pleasing in his sight. See, a sovereign shall reign in righteousness, and rulers rule with him in right ruling. And each one who? Each one of those rulers shall be as a hiding place. So they're gonna have like a divine protective realm over their area that they're at, for Yahuwah's name's sake. Shall be a hiding place from the wind. Or what is the wind? The wind of destruction, or every wind of doctrine, every falsehood. They're gonna bring truth in their community, in their area. People are gonna know it, and they're gonna be a shelter from the downpour. What is downpour? Downpour of rain, or downpour of what? Well, last time we saw downpour was in chapter 30, where it says, Yahuwah shall come with raging wrath, and the flame of a consuming fire, with scattering and downpour and hailstones. That's talking about the destruction. And so it's saying that those who rule with him shall be a shelter from the downpour, as rivers of water. We're not gonna be literal water. I can't turn into water for you, but we're gonna be as a refreshment, as a breath of fresh air. Say, oh man, you're a breath of fresh air or fresh water. We're gonna be like refreshing water for them. Our words, we're gonna speak the word of Yah. It's gonna have an essence of truth coated in it, so it brings rivers of water for them in their being. It's gonna swell up in them and bring satisfaction to their soul, to the nafashim. We're gonna be as rivers of ma'im, of water in a dry place where there's no word, where they haven't heard the truth. So it nourishes them with truth, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. And that's when we praise, and it brings that overcast, the shade of the clouds, protection from the destruction of the heat of the sun, is like the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. So it's talking about bringing shade and a protective covering where it's going to be nice. And remember in the beginning, it said that it was misty in the Garden of Adon. It's not going to be hot and sunny. It's so hot. It's going to be nice and shady. It's going to be pleasant. And the eyes of those who see are not dim. So people are going to see you, and they're going to understand you. And the ears of those who listen, or the ears of those who hear, listen. They're going to understand what you're saying. More deep than what your words are saying. They understand the essence of the inner lab of what you're really trying to say. They get it. And the lab of the rash understands knowledge, and the tongue of the stammerers hurries to speak plainly. A fool is no longer called noble, nor the scoundrel said to be respectable. In other words, you got all the jocks and the the brutes and all those, the bullies, and they're very arrogant, and man's man, and think they're better than everybody. Well, scripture, that's what they're referring to. The fool is no longer called noble. Those who are more alpha male and all that. The scoundrel said to be respectable. Scoundrels, they kind of, for a fool speaks folly. They just, we know what it's saying. And his law works wickedness, to practice filthiness, and to speak against Yahuwah. They're proud against him. that what misleads to starve the being of the hungry and withhold the drink from the thirsty. They're not nice. In other words, they're just kind of mean. Look at themselves. Yeah, hey, yeah, a few bucks so I can get some drink. No, they're kind of like just kind of mean. Like they're just for themselves. They're the Nabals. Remember, Nabal didn't want to give any food or Ma'im, any provisions to Dawood when he was in the wilderness, like a homeless man with his army. And he's like, who's Dawood? Aren't there enough of the servants running away from their masters? And that was like, okay, I'm gonna kill him. And that's when Nabal's wife Abigail, she already discerned that. She's like, that was gonna kill him and me. So she went in and washed the feet of his men, got down and humbled herself as a servant, and brought him fig cakes and olive and bread and whatnot, things like that. And it's like, please spare my husband and spare me. And he's like, all right, fine. And he ends up dying. And then so Dawood ends up taking Abigail as a wife. That was one of his wives. And so that brings in that parable of like the reality. It's a blueprint that we're pretty much, there's a lot of the dynamic of, there's a lot of Nabals and Abigails. There's a lot of rich people. A lot of the people that operate and run the world that are on top are a bunch of brutes and a bunch of selfish people. The man's men, they just pushed their way in and looked at themselves. And women, unfortunately, because of their, um, out of desperation for financial security and be provided for, partnered with these men to bear up children to their seed, and yeah, forbid it be wicked offspring after that likeness of the brutes. But that's why, we read another part. It says in the Yeshayahu, I believe, I shall cut off all the offspring, all the seed of Babylon, all the wicked seed, and it's talking about that because a lot of these women clung to those type of brutes. Because Satan did that. Satan inspired, I'm going to raise up all these brutes and I'm going to make these women weak to want that security. So they're going to get with all these Nabals. But a lot of those women are actually Abigails. So it's going to play out that way where all these Nabals are going to die off and all these Abigails are going to remain and be like, forgive us. And that's where we get Yashayahu 4, Isaiah chapter 4 says, 7 women cling to one man, the righteous elect. And they said, we'll provide our own clothes and our own food. Like we got our own financial resources. Our husbands had life insurance policies, and we're getting some funds out of that. And we'll provide for you. Only spare us, keep us alive. Let us be called by your name means marriage covenant, consummating marriage. Let us be called by your name. Take us as wives, and we'll raise up children to your name, to your seed, to restore you, to make you a nation, to make you a tribe and a nation and a strong people. And are you making this up? Nope. That's we're gonna look at that right now, real quick. And since we just sat, I'll bring up those things real quick. That's Yashayahu. The Abigails and the Balls is right here. We all know this one, but just for the sake, for those who are first time watchers or whatnot and don't know this paradigm and are new and like, what? Bam, there it is, Yashayahu, Isaiah 4. And in that Yom, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we shall eat our own food and wear our own clothes. They're taking over Nabal's resources. This perfectly blueprints Abigail and Nabal, because Abigail, they had the similar laws put in place where after Nabal died, she inherited all Nabal's land and resources, like as of like a life high insurance policy, but she gave it all to Dawood. So ended up going to David. Like he's like, so this like what this is saying, like we'll provide our own food, our own clothes, like we'll give you what we got. Only let us be called by your name to take away our reproach. We'll give you what we got. Only let us be called by your name. We'll lie down with you and consummate marriage, covenant with you, and to take away our shame. Like we're wrong, we were the wrong dude, but we're ready to do the right thing now. That y'all are the ones Yahuwah has chosen. And that day the branch of Yahuwah shall be splendid and esteemed, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for the surviving ones, the saved ones of Yasharal. So the fruit of the earth is talking about the replenishing of the righteous, the restoration of the righteous through righteous seed, through the taking of the Abigails after the Nabals are taken out. And it shall be that he who is left in Sion and he who remains in Jerusalem is called Kodash, dedicated, separated unto Yahuwah. Everyone who is written among the living in Jerusalem. When Yahuwah has washed away the filth of the Batim, the daughters of Sion. So like those women are considered daughters of Sion, but they're filthy at the time. They have to be washed and cleansed. The Abigails, they have to, own their shame and repent and recompense by you know providing their resources now to the ones who has chosen, and laying down themselves to be wives for the righteous to restore their righteous seed. And we're going to see that in scripture. And rinsed away the blood of Jerusalem from her midst by the spirit, the ruach of judgment, by the ruach of burning. So he's going to refine the women like gold in the fire as well in this process. Then Yahuwah, he's going to humble them. Let the women, the world's done a great job saying the powers that be to put delusion. Women don't even know exactly how to operate in their positions if they try. Neither do men. We don't. I don't. Because the saying like confused us and hid that paradigm, made it hard to find out. But we have an idea of the direction, and it was slowly like pinning that point. It's like going up the mountain and you just kind of going through thorn bushes and trying to carve your own path to it, but you're going the right way. So once we get there, we're there. Barak Yahuwah. So we all got to go through this together. Then Yahuwah shall create above every dwelling place of Mount Sion, and above her congregations a cloud and a smoke by Yom by day, and the shining of a flaming fire by night. For over all the esteem shall be a covering, and a booth for shade. What? Ain't that what we just read in Yashayahu, Isaiah 32? That behold, the sovereign shall reign in righteousness, and rulers will rule with him. The righteous shall rule with him in right ruling, and each one shall be as a booth, a shade, as a hiding place from the downpour. Well, this is the same context. When the seven women clean the one man, and a booth, and the steam shall be for a booth for shade in the daytime from the yom time, from the heat, for a place of refuge, and for a shelter from storm and rain. It's the same context of Yeshayahu 32, because it's saying that what is the booth in the shade? What is the esteem? It's his rulers. It's us. It's us. Then we see this connects back to Yeshayahu 32, because it says above again, but it shall be a dwelling place of Mount Sion, above congregations, cloud of smoke by Yom, shining flaming fire by night. For over all the esteem shall be a covering, and for a booth for shade. And so what is that? Again, that's what we just read, Yeshayahu 32. One more time, I'm just going to look at it real quick. It says right here. Barak Yahuwah, praise Yah. I'm glad y'all seen it. Y'all coming to agreement. See, a sovereign shall reign in righteousness, and rulers rule in right ruling, and each one shall be as a hiding place from the wind, and a shelter from the downpour, as rivers of Maim in a dry place, and the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. They're the booth that Yashayahu 4 talked about. Seven women cling to the shade, the booth. That's what they're looking for. So it's all connected. So then we go to Yashayahu, Isaiah 60, and this is where we see this. Because this is why seven women cling to one man. They see the divine protection that is upon the righteous elect. They see the favor he was putting on them. And this is where he's now kind of more focused on those righteous elect ones. He's saying, arise and shine, for your light has come. He's talking to the righteous elect. And the esteem of Yahuwah has risen upon you. What is the esteem of Yahuwah? The scripture says it is the esteem of a sovereign to know the mysteries of Yah, like to know the secrets of Yahuwah. The word is the esteem of Yah. Is the esteem of a sovereign, and we're sovereigns that rule with him in right ruling. So arise, shine, for your light has come, and the esteem of Yahuwah has risen upon you. The truth that we have, this what I'm sharing you, that's the esteem that when they hear it, the world hears it, they know it's truth. For look, darkness covers the earth, and darkness clouds the people. Again, that's where it says he shall sift the nations with the sieve of falsehood and the misleading bridle. It's the darkness of delusion, falsehood and all that. Darkness covers the earth, darkness clouds the people, it clouds their mind, right, with the lies. But Yahuwah arises over you. He shines his light of truth on us. We have the truth. And so we say it in the Ruach, and they hear it, and it's coded with truth. So when people hear it, they're hearing absolute math. 2 plus 2 equals 4. So they can rest in that. So then they pass out like my roommate passed out, because when you hear the truth, it just gives you rest. You hear that truth, and it gives you like, oh yeah, I can rest in that. I'm going to sleep. That brings comfort to my nafash. But Yahuwah rises over you, and his esteem is seen upon you. All right, let me go back a little bit. For look, darkness covers the Arats, and darkness clouds the people. So that's like saying 2 plus 3 equals 4. That irregular math is darkness, and it brings insecurity. That's what people feel insecure when it's a falsehood. But Yahuwah arises over you. Perfect math, 2 plus 2 equals 4, the truth, and brings rest, security. And his esteem, the truth, is seen upon you. And the Goyim, the Gentiles, the nations, shall come to your light. They come to that esteem. They come to that truth. They feel it. They see it. They discern it. They understand it. They can discern it. And sovereigns to the brightness of your rising. This is our rising right now, being fulfilled in your hearing. This yom. Lift up your eyes all around and see. All of them have gathered. They have come to you. Your banim come from afar. What does it say? Those who are near and those who are far off. So who are those considered far off? Parabolically are the Gentiles. That's what I just said. Lift up your eyes all around. See, they all have come to you. Who? The Gentiles. The Gentiles shall come to your light. Sovereigns to the brightness of your rising. Lift up your eyes all around you. See, all of them have gathered. The Gentiles, they have come to you. Your banim come from afar, and your daughters, your batim, are supported. Your batim, your daughters are supported on the side. What is it saying? It's saying the Gentiles come to your light, and your children, your banim and your batim are supported on their side. 7 women clinging to one man, and they have to raise up our children, to restore our nation. That's what I'm talking about. The Gentiles shall come to you. They all gathered, and your banim, your children, are supported on the side, on their side. The Gentiles carrying them. Then you shall see and be bright, and your lives shall thrive and swell, for the wealth of the sea is turned to you. They're bringing their wives, they're bringing their cars and the Ferraris and their Lamborghinis and their mansions, and all the riches of the Gentiles come to you. And I'm not worried about that. I just need a car to get point A to point B if I want to go pick some plants or so. We're just trying to rest. So it doesn't even matter. We're not superficial. I don't care about all that. We count it as dung, as nothing. A stream of camels. That's why it says the army of Yahuwah. It says, silver, they do not delight in gold. They do not desire gold. As for silver, they do not delight in it. I don't care about that. We just want rest. But the word shalom means order out of chaos. It says the fruit of the lips is shalom. The fruit, when they speak the fruit of the lips, shalom. That doesn't just mean they speak peaceful. They're nice and they're gentle. It means in order to have shalom, you gotta cut down, you got to prune plants, you got to cut down branches they don't need in order to get the fruit out, and then you get the fruit of it. That's shalom. So it's like order out of chaos to bring shalom. That's why it's got the shah, the teeth, as they say, or something coming from above, substance from up above that comes like a shepherd and moves all the ma'im. It orders it, right, you know. So continuing, all the stream. This is all poetic. Maybe we'll get all this literal, but it's just trying to paint a picture, like according to their lifestyle, their lifestyle back in the day, how to put in parables for us. A stream of camels cover your land, and the dromedaries of Midian and Napha, all those from Shabbat, come bearing gold and incense and proclaiming the praises of Yahuwah. So they're all bringing offerings and gifts, and they're praising Yahuwah. They're esteeming Yahuwah, bowing down. Every knee shall bow, in other words. All the flocks of Kedar are gathered to you. The rams of Nabayot serve you. They come up for acceptance on my slaughter table, and I embellish my esteemed house. Who are these who fly like a cloud and like doves to their windows? So being raptured, gathered together. Maybe it's a parable alluding to, when Yahuwah makes his light shine on us, being changed in a twinkling of an eye. Maybe we're like having a trans realm reality where the righteous elect actually are kind of like eternal. Like they're going to be kind of like in the esteem of Yahuwah. They're going to be able to fly and have some powers and stuff, but they're only going to use it according to what's necessary. And so, who are these who fly like a cloud and like doves to the windows? Because the coastlands wait for me. The ships of Tarshish first to bring your banim from afar. Their silver and their gold with them. Silver and gold is not just treasure, but your word is more precious than gold and silver, right? So, to bring your banim from afar, the word that we have. We're able to receive that we've treasured up here in the land of the Gentiles we bring with us, what I'm saying right now, to the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim, to bring the praises, and to the Qudashym of Yasharal, because he has adorned you. And the banim of the foreigners shall build your walls, and their sovereigns serve you. For my wrath I have smitten you, but in my delight I shall have compassion on you. And your gates shall be open continually, they are not shut, Yom or Laila, day or night, to bring you the wealth of the Gentiles. So they got to bring us the best of their best, and their sovereigns in procession. For the nation and the reign that does not serve you shall perish. And that sounds like Zechariah 14. The nation that does not come to keep the Feast of Tabernacles shall get plagued and perish. It's the same kind of idea. So this is all like to serve is they're going to have to bow down and keep these feasts in submission. For the nation and the reign that do not serve you shall perish, and those Gentiles shall be utterly laid waste. The esteem of Lebanon shall come to you, cypress, pine, and the box tree together to embellish the place of my mikdash. So they're going to rebuild our dwellings, rebuild the city, rebuild everything. Since they like to build so much, right? They have all this cool, what do you call it, engineering, ingenuity, and all that kind of stuff. Is that the right word? They have all this cool advanced technology to do all kinds of cool stuff. Well, guess what? We're going to get the best of the best of the better, that end of the stick, as they're like now coming to the forefront of newer technology. That ain't going nowhere. And Yahushua comes back, he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do what with it? Build all these nice palaces and all this cool tech stuff. You know what? You can do that for my servants. You can do that for my people. Yasharal. New Yerushalayim, they're getting the best. And I shall make the place of my feet esteemed. And the banim of those who afflicted you, the children of those who afflicted you, come bowing to you. And all those who despised you shall bow themselves at the soles of your feet. And it's going to give them rest and peace to do it. They're going to understand that it's right. They're going to intuitively know that this is the right verdict. It's going to bring peace, and who will coded it in them to make them feel at peace with this. It gives them rest. My room bears witness. And they shall call you city of Yahuwah, Sion, of the Qudashym one of Yasharal. Instead of you being forsaken and hated, so that no one passes through you, I shall make you an everlasting excellence, a samacha, a gladdening of multitudes of generations. He bear witness. Amen. Praise Yah. And you shall drink dry the milk of the Gentiles, the goyim, and shall milk the breast of sovereigns. What? In other words, you're going to have the milk of Gentiles is like you're going to have the resources. They're going to give you the best of resource, milk the breast of sovereigns. You're going to have the type of women that sovereigns have. For example, AK, like a parabolic picture, blueprint, Donald Trump, right? He's rich, this and that, and he's got this fine model wife. Well, that's breast of sovereigns. You're going to have the kind of breast sovereigns have, like the women they have. You're going to have the best of the best women. And we're going to go into that too. And I want Yasharal women, don't get me wrong, but we might have some concubines in the mix just to like, who is just cool like that, turns out. He made them beautiful, lovely for that reason, because he wants us to enjoy that too. And if you're a true woman, sister, Akut of Yasharal, you want us to finally have what they were getting, you know what I'm saying? Because the real Yasharalim are low and underground, poor, financially impoverished, and spat and made lowly and meek and not pleasant to the eye, like Yahusha, right? We're in his image. Like he was not lovely that you should look upon him, but for his name's sake, for his elect, he's gonna give them everything, even the best of the best, so they can have that, experience that. And you shall know that Yahuwah, that I Yahuwah, your Savior and your Redeemer, am the Elohim of Yaakov. Instead of bronze, I bring gold, and instead of iron, I bring silver, and bronze instead of wood, and iron instead of stones. In other words, whatever's the best now, it's gonna be even better then. I'm gonna give you the best of the best. I'm telling you. And I'm gonna get back to that woman thing on another verse too. I'm gonna show you where that's at. And I shall make your officers shalom, and your magistrates righteousness. So your officers are shalom. We think just like kumbaya, right? Like all peace and like like peace, love, like the 70s, right? Like the peace sign, right? Like it's just like, yeah. But it is the ultimate end game, the result of it, the fruit of it, shalom, the rest. But shalom is a process. Everything is a process. Like to believe, Shema is a process. It's to hear, believe, trust, and obey. So you hear, you believe, trust. So it's all like not just definite in like one word. Shalom is the process of rooting out wickedness and restoring order that brings peace. It's agreed upon under the right order, and of course the order of Yahuwah Yahusha. So the office, that's why it's officers. Shalom. It's gonna destroy everything going against that way until it's all checked in submission, and then it'll be shalom, rest, because everything's following suit in that order. Because there's gonna be Gentiles among us, servants and whatnot. They're gonna have to be okay with it. They're gonna have to find that rest and their magistrates' righteousness. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna they're gonna need to get into that shalom. They're gonna be like that. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be resting. And so let me see where else. Where else? So violence shall no longer be heard in your land, neither wasting nor ruin within your borders, and you shall call your walls deliverance and your gates praise. So it's going to be freedom and righteousness to praise Yahuwah. It's going to be all about praising Him. No more enemy, no more bow, weapons of war. No longer is the sun your light by day, by yom, nor does the moon give light to you for brightness. But Yahuwah shall be to you an everlasting light, and your Elohim your comeliness. No longer does your sun go down, nor your moon withdraw itself, for Yahuwah shall be your everlasting light, and the yamim of your mourning shall be ended. And your people, check this out, and your people, all of them righteous, shall inherit the Arats forever. Why? Because we replenish the earth, and with His eternal righteous seed in us. So the seed, our children, are going to come out in our image, that is the image of Yahusha. And your people, all of them righteous, shall inherit the Arats forever. Dude, a branch of my planting, a work of my hands to be adorned. Here we go. The 7 women cling to one man and replenish the earth. The little one, the little guy, the little one, the little Yasharali. I'm only 5'6.5". I'm a short one. The little one shall become a thousand. The little one shall become 1,000, and the small one a strong nation. I, Yahuwah, shall hasten it in His time. Meaning everybody's going to get replenished, worlds without end, To some measure, at the least, they'll become 1,000 in a nation. The littlest person, the least in the reign. The replenishing, 7 women clinging to one man. Right? And so we see that real quick in Yashayahu 65, where they're going to be in the likeness of that same fruit. We see that. Where is it right here? This is Yashayahu 65, and it says, um, and all because of what? Because you are those who forsake Yahuwah, who forget my Qudashym mountain. The Torah comes out of Mount Zion, so they forsake Yahuwah and the Torah, who prepare a table for God, the dollar bill. They reverence that dollar bill. They work for that. Can't serve 2 masters. And who fill drink offering for, there's in ancient Hebrew, that's a A vowel, ma, N-I, or Y. That's the same word, M-O-N-E-Y. So they fill a drink offering for G-O-D and M-O-N-E-Y, or M-A-N-Y, which is pronounced like M-O-N-E-Y. That's the dollar bill is talking about. Fortune and prosperity and lottery. And I shall allot you to the sword, and let you bow down to the slaughter, because I called and you did not answer. I spoke to you this word, and you did not listen, you did not hear, and you did evil before my eyes, and you chose that, G-O-D and M-O-N-E-Y, and what I did not delight. You chose to worship fortune and prosperity. Therefore thus said the Adon Yahuwah, see my servants drink, or eat, we're going to eat, but you shall hunger. See my servants shall drink and rejoice, but you shall thirst. See, my servants shall samach. Forgive me, samach. So glad exultations, but you are put to shame. See, my servants sing for samacha of lab, but you shall cry for sorrow of lab, and wail for the breaking of nafash, of being. You shall leave your names as a curse to my chosen, for the Adon Yahuwah shall put you to death and call his servants by another name, an eternal name, a remembrance, made new. So let me go down to where I'm talking about this. For look, I'm creating a new Shemaim and a new earth, right? Former shall not be remembered, right? And then so we go to right here. No more is an infant from there going to live but a few yamim. An infant's not gonna live but a few yamim no more, nor an old man who does not complete his yamim. For the youth, if he dies, if he dies a youth, he's still a youth at 100 years old. So this is speaking of prolonged yamim, living like the yamim, the days of the forefathers, where they lived up to 1,000 years. If he died, for the youth, if he dies at 100, he dies 100 years old, still being a youth. But the sinner, being 100 years old, shall be lightly esteemed. He's gonna age like a human, like 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 what we are now, right? Like in the fleshliness. Like so that's why it says a transform experience, because we're gonna be made new, and our children, and all that, where they're gonna age like the forefathers, like Adam and Eve, like living hundreds of years. At the same time, while the Gentiles are among us, still living like how we're living now, on the same earth during the 1,000 year millennial year reign. So they're gonna age out and die and have to keep remultiplying while we just continue living. And I don't know if our children extend to different worlds without end or what, different realms. We'll see how that goes. But there's so much. We're just getting the basics here. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and plant vineyards and eat their fruit. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For the yamim of my people are going to be as the yamim of a tree. There it is. You know how long trees live? Man, some age like 200, some even almost 1,000 years old. And my chosen ones outlive the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth children for trouble. So this is where again we see Isaiah 4, where it says, and the branch, the fruit of the earth shall be comely and esteemed for the surviving ones, the saved ones of Yasharal. You know, this is what it's talking about. They shall not bring forth, nor bring forth children for trouble, for they are the seed of the Baruch of Yahuwah, and their offspring with him. In other words, all the children we're going to have, we're not going to have those issues where they're going to be like, one's a wicked kid and one's righteous, and the next generation, a few more wicked. They're all going to be coming out like in the image of Yahusha over and over, like Adam, and their own personalities, right? They're going to be perfect, like the original state of Adam or Yahusha and all that, So the second Adam, second Adam. So over and over, just the fruit of the earth shall be comely and esteemed and perfect and righteous, for they are the seed of the Baruch of Yahuwah, and their offspring with them. So they shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth children for trouble. They won't be wicked. They're just going to be, or even to be oppressed. That's also one context, but both, they're not going to be children for oppression or children to, be causing trouble. They're going to be righteous and perfect, just like we read, where it talks about in Yeshayahu 60, a branch of my planting, a work of my hands to be adorned. Or where was it at? It says, and your people, all of them righteous, shall inherit the earth forever. A branch of my planting, a work of my hands to be adorned. The little shall become 1,000, and the small one a strong nation. I, Yahuwah, shall hasten in his time. And then another one more that goes with that. And then I'll show you about the women thing. That last reference is, okay. Look. Your people, all of them righteous, shall inherit the earth forever. Branch of my planting, a work of my hands to be adorned. Right? Okay, thank you. Yeah, praise yeah. Okay, thank you. Because I'm like, I hate when I have those moments where it just escapes my mind. I just had it. So now Yeshayahu 30, when it talks about restoring the barak and the curses, putting the curses on the enemy. Yeshayahu 30. It says, and it shall be when all these words come upon you, the barak and the curse that I have put before you, and you shall bring them back to your law, bring them to remembrance among the goyim. So literally, I feel like we're to share this among the goyim. Ever since I had that thought, there's always goyim, so I can fulfill that. It's like as long as you're bringing it up in your lab among the goyim, I say it among them. I say it so they hear it. Where Yahuwah, your Elohim, drives you, and shall turn back to Yahuwah, your Elohim. Boom, boom. That's the truth. So I proclaim it to the goyim. I let them hear this stuff, and shall turn back to Yahuwah, your Elohim, and obey his voice according to all that I command you this yom, with all your lab and with all your being, your nafash, and with all you and your children. Then Yahuwah, your Elohim, shall turn back your captivity. So you want your captivity turned back? You don't be preaching to each other, to the choir. You share this and preach it to the goyim. When I had a concubine at one time, when I was married, I said all this to her. She was a Russian woman, and I said, yeah, Yahuwah's gonna restore. Right now we're the minorities at the bottom because we're enslaved because of our sins, but we turn back to righteousness. Yahuwah's gonna put us on top, and y'all are gonna be our servants, and you might end up being my slave. Well, something in the Ruach hit her, and she got turned on, and then she wanted to also be my sex slave for real. I'm just telling you the truth. She wanted to be my servant like that. I'm like, what? She started fantasizing about it, but I believe that was like, in the Ruach, in a sense, like that was a projection, like it was in her. That's why I said, like, a lot of times, a lot of like the white people got a cuckling spirit. Cuckling is like whenever the dude wants to, like, has a fantasy to have his woman ravished, like had by another man. He wants to watch, or just gets off on the idea of his wife getting banged by another dude. It's a cuckling spirit. But if you do your statistics, your study, if you search, that idea, that ideology, that fantasy is most prominent, most paramount, most prominent, or whatever, in the white culture, the American culture. And so Yahuwah, I pull out about it because I asked him questions like, why is that? And he told me, I'm glad you asked, because it's not just random. He said it's because those are the ones that to signify, identify who are children of the oppressors, and because the curses will be put back on them that they put on you, because their ancestors ravished ours. I don't know if you know that. They raped our ancestors. They raped all our women, our wives, our children. So as a recompense, Yahuwah's putting an identifying marker by all of a sudden they know what the verdict is inside. They have this idea that we're going to rise back on top. Yahuwah's going to give us everything. And they already fantasize about giving us their wives, and their wives too being ravished by uh, you know, a foreign man of like an indigenous or some kind of like of another culture, because it's Yahuwah putting that verdict in them, like letting them know at the cellular level they're feeling it. Then Yahuwah, Yalahim. So if you want all that to come about, you gotta proclaim this stuff, bring it back to your lab among the Gentiles. Like I don't know, for me, for some reason I identify as saying, like, you gotta let them know. I bring it back to me, and proclaim it in my lab among them as well, like I'm doing now, among the Goyim, where Yahuwah, your Elohim, drives you, and shall turn back to Yahuwah, your Elohim, and obey his voice according to all that I command you this yom, with all your lab and with all your nafash, you and your children. Then Yahuwah. So if you do all that, proclaim it, turn back to Yahuwah, keep his commandments, proclaim it amongst the Goyim. Then Yahuwah, your Elohim, shall turn back your captivity. That's how you turn it back. You have to proclaim it to them. It's kind of what the Hebrew Israelites do, but a little more so less with the truth. I don't like the way I'm doing it. Then Yahuwah, your Elohim, shall turn back your captivity and shall have compassion on you, and he shall turn back and gather you from all the peoples where your Elohim has scattered you. If any of you are driven out to the farthest parts under the Shamayim, from there Yahuwah, your Elohim, gathers you, and from there he takes you. And Yahuwah, your Elohim, shall bring you to the land that your Abim possess. Parabolically, blueprint, it's talking about New Yerushalayim, not the actual physical, literal land once upon a time in ancient times. Maybe some, but there's levels to it. Some are going New Yerushalayim up above. And he shall possess it, paradise, even the Garden of Eden. And he shall do tub to you and increase you more than your Abim. So where do we see that? The little one shall become 1,000, and the small one a strong nation. Why do I even know this stuff? Because it's in my life. Yahuwah put in my, like, this is my desire because I identify with all this. I'm a little person. I'm a cut down people. We're a minority, means remnant. Yashua shall be a remnant in the earth, a minority in the earth. So there you go. There you go, and we're at the bottom, and then all this resonates. Put you back on top. The little one, a strong nation. A small one, or the little one, 1,000 people, and a small one, a strong nation. And I shall increase you more than your Abi, more than the fathers. Worlds without end, it says in the book of Abraham and Eliyahu. And Yahuwah, your Elohim, shall circumcise your lob and the lob of your seed. So that's what I was trying to make. My point is, like, he's, how does he circumcise the lob of your seed? Like, we're gonna have to bring him out and circumcise it every time, like in process. It's talking about once we're circumcised in lob, ruach in the lob and flesh and all that, but in the ruach being made new, we're not have to circumcise anymore. Circumcision is a foretelling of when you circumcise on the 8th day, because that's speaking of the 8,000 year period after the 7th millennial year reign, new Shemaim, new earth, new bodies, eternal. The flesh is cut off, so you cut off the flesh on the 8th day, because in the 8th millennial year reign, we're going to cut off the flesh completely. We're gonna put off the flesh and have a different type of body. We're gonna be more steam, more cosmic realm type entity, different kind of like skin of metallic stuff. Because we see that in scripture when it talks about they saw Yahuwah and it's always describing him like his body, his skin is like metallic, gold or bronze or like different. So we know that our skin's gonna be metallic. It's gonna be like a rod of iron, just like this. And so, and Yahuwah your Elohim shall bring you into the land that you're being possessed, and you shall possess it. He shall do to you and increase you more than your Abim, and Yahuwah your Elohim shall circumcise your lob and the lob of your seed. So in the likeness that Yahuwah perfects us to, like a fruit bears in the image of its bears a seed in the likeness of its tree, of the type of fruit it is. So the way Yahuwah makes us righteous and gets us Kadash and perfect the way he wants us, full of the word, full of his commandments and ruach and in truth. Yahuwah gets us full of the word and commandments and ruach and truth. So we bear seed after that likeness to Ahava Yahuwah, our Elohim, your Elohim with all your love and with all your nafash, so that you might live. And Yahuwah, check it out, your Elohim shall put all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate you, who persecuted you. So that's what we saw in Yeshayahu 60. The children of those who oppress you shall come bowing down to you, bring you all the thumbness, all the best of the land, even the women. And ye shall turn back and obey the voice of Yahuwah and do all his commands that I command you this yom. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall make you have excess in all the work of your hand, in the fruit of your body, and in the fruit of your chai stock, and in the fruit of your ground for tub. For Yahuwah turns back to Samach over you for tub, as he Samach over your Abim. If you obey the voice of Yahuwah, what is the voice? If you obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim, what is the voice? To guard his commands and his laws that are written in this book of the Torah. If you turn back to Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all your love and with all your nafash, all your being. It's got to be your song, your anthem, your what you live for, your purpose. That's got to be the beat of your drum. For this command that I am commanding you this yom is not too hard for you if you truly love Yah. That'll be your passion, nor is it far off. And we know how the rest goes, okay? So one more thing I want to show you is Yeshayahu 23. Going again back in that context of the replenishing. 7 women cling to one man. They say, we'll provide our own food, our own bread. Only let us be called by your name, to take away our reproach. Right? Have a great day, man. Thank you. So where it says, we're gonna be rulers. We have to show them the right way. We have to be kind too. You know what I'm saying? It's kind to the servants. Like we're gonna show them the right way. It should be done. I'm kind to them, kind to everybody. So Yeshayahu Isaiah 23. Right, go to the end of it. This is in the same context. 7 women cling to one man. I see more like those, like the Abigails that become the wives. All right, there's wives and there's concubines. These are more like the concubines. Okay, the wives are the 7 women cling to a man because they're ready to make the offering. We'll provide our own bread, our own clothes. In the context, they're saying, well, we got you also. Only let us be called by your name. Just like we'll raise up seed to you, to raise up children to your name, so that to take away our shame, so that we're under your protective covering. That's the word that you provide for us by your protective covering. We're going to see that right here. It says, because what does Yeshayahu 32 say? A sovereign shall reign in righteousness, and rulers rule with him in right ruling, and each one of them are divine protective covering, from the people, from the heat, from the storm. So they're going to see that light shine, arise, your light has shined. They're going to see that esteem of Yahuwah, the divine protective covering with us, his favor around us. So they're going to want to cling to us to have that security, because that's all women really want. They just want to feel safe and protected and secure. And so once they see Yahuwah puts that on his servants, 7 women cling to one man. And so this is talking about the different type of women. This type of women here are your concubines. These are like your OnlyFans type, the independent one that made their own. They weren't clinging to the balls. They were whoring around and whatnot. So this is 23, Yeshayahu 23:17. And at the end of 70 years, it shall be that Yahuwah visits Sur, and she shall return to her hire and commit whoring with all the reigns of the earth and on the face of the land. Who also does this? The whore of Revelation.
I put a little post saying like, I know we were taught that the whore of Revelation, the whore of Babylon that sits on the beast and all that is just symbolic and metaphoric for like Rome and stuff, false religion. It's like a whore, but I'm starting to think like it's just different spectrums of those dynamics of those lights. You know what I mean? Of those realities. I think it really is in one dynamic actually talking about that spirit of whoredom and women that like that's like the OnlyFans type because they also whore with the sovereigns of the earth. They rule the earth. They're like the OnlyFans. They're like billionaires, like millionaires. These women just by walking around, showing it off, and being seductive, being guided by a spirit of whoredom, a Jezebel spirit. They're like on point, like Satan, like very cunningly, very like how do you say wisely and orchestratedly, like precisely maneuvers them just to our appeal. He knows to what one he's trying to appeal to. He knows what gets us, what gets us, you know what I mean, what tickles us, and he knows how to project that to get us all excited through women. So that's the horror revelation too. It's actual women, and it says that she whores with the all the earth, and that's these OnlyFans do. How can a woman whore with all the earth? Through the World Wide Web, because it's worldwide. So through the World Wide Web, they can whore with all the world. They got a cam video, they got people watching, they got thousands of views from people all over the world, from China, Japan, Mexico, Indonesia, Zimbabwe, India, and where Japan, India, Pakistan, Russia, you name it. Mexico, whatever I haven't said, I mean to say it. Everybody in every continent is watching these women on their cams, these OnlyFans models that are making millions off those views. And she shall return to her hire and commit whoring with all the reigns of the earth. These fan only models. And they're millionaires, they're rich on the face of the land. And her tools or her wages, her earnings, and her hire shall be Qudashym. It shall be, or the word Qudashym also means dedicated or separated for Yahuwah, not treasured nor laid up. So she's going to earn all these millions of dollars. Guess what, you OnlyFans that are watching? You're not going to get to spend it. It's not going to be treasured up or laid up for you. For her gain, all your gain, OnlyFans models looking all bad like little baddies, is for those who dwell before Yahuwah. So you're going to have to give your riches, all your millions to us, all your mansions, your car, all of that is your gain is for those who dwell before Yahuwah. You're gonna pass it over right here to eat sufficiently. So you're gonna have to provide for us. So your financial gain, you're gonna have to serve us, and put on a little maid outfit for us and all that. And for a choice covering, they're gonna be a choice covering for us financially. So we're gonna provide. We're gonna be a choice covering. In the Ruach, we're going to be a divine protective covering from the shelter destruction, from all of that, from the wickedness, from the downpour of the heated destruction. We're going to be a divine protective covering of the destruction of the earth for them, and they're going to be a choice covering for us to eat sufficiently from all their little, OnlyFans financial resource gains. Again, it says, and she shall return to her hire and commit whoring with all the reigns of the earth through the World Wide Web. She commits whoring through her OnlyFans modeling on the face of the land, and her wages, her earnings, and her hire shall be Qudashym, dedicated, separated for Yahuwah, not treasured nor laid up for her own use. For her gain is for those who dwell before Yahuwah. Thank you. To eat sufficiently, I'm hungry, and for a choice covering, praise Yah. So they cover us financially with their houses, with all that, and I can honestly discern, like, you know what, these fan only mom, we'll give you time to cleanse. We'll do you like, we'll put you in a little bath and cleanse, wash you off from that wickedness, that filthiness. It says 7 women clean to one man, and she shall be washed from her filthiness, by fire and judgment. You're going to be finally going to fire. We're going to keep you humbled, and you're going to abstain, and we're going to cleanse you out for a little bit and purify you after a year or two or something. And concubines right there. We're going to have some OnlyFans concubines. Because why? Because milk the breast of sovereigns. Yahuwah's going to give us the best of the best. All right? Does that make sense? That's Isaiah 60. And this is why I couldn't have a wife, because I was trying to share this with a woman who was my wife kind of thing. And she was like, oh, no, we're getting divorced. You talking crazy. I'm like, seeing what the word says. But then Yahuwah put me in position like, hey man, you want that? You're gonna have to be celibate, single for now, and delay gratification and get that in the end. All right, cool, I'll give it up because I know Yahuwah showed this to me. So hey, you know, I think if she would have held on to me, but who allowed it? Because my lot was already placed here. But yeah, so once again, yeah, that OnlyFans again. That's Yeshayahu 60, where it says, um, in the binding of the foreigner shall build your walls, right? And where's that part? It says, for the nation and the reign that do not serve you shall perish, right? Some of my favorite ones. And it says, and you shall drink dry the milk of the Gentiles and shall milk the breast of sovereigns. We're going to have the breast of sovereigns. We're going to have the type of breast fitting for sovereigns. Those only fan models, those little baddies. Yeah, I'll get you cleansed up just right because I don't know what you've been doing, but who knows, who's clean and not. And we're going to keep those reserved for the righteous elect. Yep. All you and all your earnings. Not laid up for yourself, but for those who dwell before Yahuwah, talking about us, teach efficiently. And praise Yah. I'm looking forward to it. So with that, this is the Arab Shabat, I guess, message, because I didn't even mean to do this. I just wanted to talk about when you go out there and you praise Yah, detach your phone, turn your phone off, and you're a little bit faster. You're just kind of like, in your own essence with the Ruach. You're just in that element with the Ruach where it's just you're in your own world with Him. You start to praise and you start to proclaim in front of the Gentiles. I was proclaiming, like this says, like you bring this back, the curses and the restoration and all that. You say all these kind of things in front of the nations, like amongst them, like let them hear it. Lift up your voice like a shofar and let them hear it and proclaim it. It's like you're showing you deserve it. You know what I mean? You're like fighting for it. You're putting in your work to show you're worthy of it, because you're proclaiming it. You're not just kind of sitting, not working for it. I'm letting them know how it's going down, and y'all can put that stuff in position and lay it up for me right now. Put it aside for me, kind of stuff. That's how I get bold. I do that. Yahuwah bears witness. He starts bringing the shade, and I'm like, yeah, you see that? And that used to happen all the time. PBS I just pull out like, y'all want some shade? Y'all like the sun? Y'all like the sun? But I'm gonna bring the shade because it's pretty soon the sun's gonna be burning us up, and I'm gonna be a divine protective covering. But y'all gonna have to give me your wives. You're gonna give me your wives. You're gonna give me your daughters. Da, da, da. I say that in the crowd, right there at the beach, to their face, all the time, and it would get gloom, the darkness and gloom. I see we're doing that, and the enemy, when we start tripping up because I was talking about their wives and their women, they would use women against me and start having them bend over, making me feel like, oh yeah, they're ready to go now. So when I started giving that energy, it started taking out my passion to share that truth and the remembrance of it. Like I forgot I used to even say and do all this stuff, and who used to bear witness. Like how do you forget all that? That's how powerful and like delusions be. If you give into it, they'll wipe your memory right out, and how to do these certain things. The power of the. But this is the recipe. This is the blueprint. This is the equation, if you will, if you shall. This is how you do all that. It's how you operate. And praise is your weapon, like we said when it said Yahusha comes with raging wrath, and with every a blow of the ordained staff that he smites Ashur the enemy with shall be with tambourines and lyres. So it's like praising brings that destruction, brings the divine protection, and brings them bringing the favor. You get favor, they bring you shoes. Dudes don't say none. You give them rest. Saw that I was preaching this, I was like worried, like man, this is gonna be offensive, but oh well, here it goes. As soon as I started talking about the restoration, the nations having to give us their best, give us their wives and whatnot, dude said, hmm. Dude just like knocked out, like yeah. He's like, that's right, that makes sense. Yeah, I have peace about that. That's how Yahuwah works. But see, you'll never know because you'll be too scared to say it to the nations. I'll say it. What do y'all tell them? The descendants. I try to share the truth with them. And they're like, nah, I don't believe in that. Well, let me tell you what position you're going to be in then. You're going to have to serve us. And like, yeah, that makes sense. They'd rather do that. They'll agree to it. I promise you, 9 times out of 10, I always get that response where it's kind of like, all right, well, so be it. Because they just want to enjoy what they want right now. And if they got to serve in the end, they're like, that's fine. I just want to do what I want to do right now. Until if your creator's coming back and he's gonna check us into place, so be it. It is what it is. But no one's taking away my thrill, my party. I want to live how I want to live right now. All right, I was giving you an opportunity to be a part of a nation, be eternal, and this other awesome stuff. But you want your little dollar ice cream now. We can't wait till we get the Dairy Queen and enjoy that real big one. So be it. So that is the Arab Shabat message. I plan and trust that you were edified by it and given insight and hold on to these truths. And for the sisters, I know it's kind of a pill to swallow because we are the paradigm of, you know, of like my man ain't gonna be having no concubines or other wives and all that. Like you should want that for him. I seen a post where his sister, she's of the world, like, but she had that locked in her. You know, I'm gonna go a little bit longer. A couple things I want to touch on. It just came to me. Um, I was realizing that Yahuwah, everywhere he takes me, a different community has a different essence of the truth hidden in it. Like the enemy scattered these treasures, these essences of truth in the midst of different opposing communities, paradigms, and to keep us away from the truth, like certain little truths, so we won't go in there and find it. For example, I'm just going to try to be as quick and straightforward every time from now on. Um, I'm in the gay community, LGBT stuff. What I found by them, just hanging, like just being around them, is they actually embedded in them though, where the enemy stole the essence of brotherly love. He stole the essence of achimness, achim love, ahaba, like that, just that natural, really like brotherly love and like men hugging each other, like genuinely though, like just as a agree. I seen it, I can discern it, I can tell that it's genuine. It reminds me of what I used to have when I was a teenager coming up with like my cousins or even my friends. When you have those really best friends, man, when they have best friends like that, and it's very rare to see it now, but we used to hug each other, sometimes kiss each other on the cheek, like the scriptures would talk about. And we used to do that. That we're like the last generation of that. When I was in high school, like a teenager, it was already starting to die off, but we were like that, because we loved each other. We just had that brotherly love. We trusted each other. We're like, that's how strong our love was. Like we didn't care. We let it know because we wanted to show it somehow like that. Like we were down to die for each other, fight for each other, kind of love. And as we see in the scriptures, when they kiss each other, they grab each other's beard, and the men kiss each other. Yahuda betrayed Yahusha with the kiss on the cheek. It was like the culture, the way back then. We see that also Dawood and who Yahunatan, was it? Yeah, Dawood and Yahunatan, when they had to depart, like embraced each other, hugged each other, crying in each other's arms and each other's shoulder. I can imagine like what that was like. And then today we look at that like we get a like that would make us feel uncomfortable and offended and weird and awkward because it's like two grown men embracing each other, crying on each other. Just seems feminine because the world, Satan, the powers that be, has done a great job at separating brotherly love and attaching those kind of elements to homosexuality. Oh, if you're anything like that, you must be homosexual. So then we straight away we get cold and don't express that type of love towards each other because we don't want it to come off homosexual, or we want to make sure it doesn't get received homosexual, or we may just not want to feel like if the enemy throws in a charge and tries to get us weird about it and put in our head play homosexual. That's why it's just better sometimes stay cold in that way. But nonetheless, it's been hidden in the homosexual community where I can sense a big part of them is they're over homosexuality. Like they may do the pride thing and whatnot, but when I see them out here in the day to day, I can tell they're done. They don't really care too much about being homosexual. They're too busy too, just like everybody else, trying to pay bills and get by and take care of things and just find peace in their own world. Like they're over homosexuality. They're tired of that homosexual paradigm trying to fit them in their mold. Boom! That's why the alarm's going off because I can feel it off of them, and they're like, "Man, I'm tired. I'm worn out of trying to uphold this gay pride stuff because it's pride, it's energy, it drains them too." And when they see me, I can tell they see that light. I can feel it. I can feel that they feel like relaxed. They get relief when they come around me because they don't have to act all like I just come genuine. I'm not trying to like test their gay pride or make them have to put up a wall and defend it. I'm not trying to attack it. I'm just like, hey, what's up? Like I don't see it, almost like when you see that like loving mother. My mom was the type of woman, she had gifts, like raw gifts that Yahuwah gave her. Or like you can put a criminal serial killer in my mom's presence. My mom's gonna treat that person like she treats everybody, with all love and all. Oh, hi, how are you doing? Are you hungry? Sit down, I'll make you something to eat. That was the type of woman my mom was. She just treat everybody like they were just a child of Yah and an angel and everything, like make you feel like a kid again. She just spoil you and pamper you and treat you, like host you and give you, feed you and everything. And she'll make the wicked guy forget his wicked ways, just like make him not feel like he is wicked, make him feel like he's a saint, and make him leave wanting to be a saint going out the door. That's how my mom was, or a Qudashym. And so that's how my mom is. She's still that way, praise Yah. And so I think I have some of that. Like, as firm as we have to be in the word, sometimes like, yeah, I discern like, you know what? Like with this crowd, I have to just be chill and just let them feel that love and make them feel like they're loved and they're not gay. Like I project so much love, so much realism, I don't know, genuineness, that stuff don't even matter. Those are the paradigms. Right now it's just, let's just build up social, like, what's up, how you doing, you know what I mean? And you seen it in that one other video with that one dude. I mean, I don't think he was homosexual, the black dude, but just being there, that energy is what's in that community. But I think a lot of them just, that's what became the result of that paradigm, is that hidden treasure through homosexuality produced this actual little hidden treasure for those who were able to bring it out, who were able to pick, like, to grab hold of it. It's just brotherly love at the end of the day. I think that's where the brotherly love was hidden in there, so that's what I'm trying to get at, is like, I notice a lot of different communities have different treasures hidden in them. And what was I going now on a deeper sense? Because I was just giving you an example. But all that to say that, see, because I was going to share one more scripture concerning where it talks about something like that. Yeah, please. Yeah, I was saying I wasn't going to I was at Arab Shabat. I was just trying to talk about how power, we share this stuff to the nations, and Yahuwah backs us up with his gloom. Like he brings that protective covering. We share the truth with them, and 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 yeah, sometimes the truth is hidden in dark places. We gotta extract it and utilize that. They have a gay church, gay congregation. They keep Sabbath, by the way. I didn't been there. I just saw them on a seventh Yom service. I went out to do my message past Shabbat, and they're coming out of a congregation because they had rainbow flags all over it, and it was on a Shabbat. I was like, what? They have a service on Shabbat? And it was like probably like 9 o'clock a.m. Rising service. So that was interesting. So nonetheless, if y'all can remind me what I was saying before that, I don't know where I was going with. I hate that part. But nonetheless, Yahuwah reminded me, I was speaking to him, like, you proclaim it among the nations, it gives them rest. And did I talk about the cuckolding spirit? Yeah. Like, these dudes, like, have fantasies and want to see their wife get banged just because they raped our women. That was a curse put on us. So now that those curses be put on them too. So they're gonna have to give us their wives and their daughters and whatnot, concubines. OnlyFans gonna give us themselves and their material wealth and all that. And what else? Restore. What else? Something I'm missing. Yeah, something that got plugged out. Maybe, I don't know. But all that to say, you know, praise Yah. Yeah, praise Yah. Yeah, they got brotherly love, and we got to restore that. So I don't think I'm meant to go and try to convert them because of that. I'm meant to, kind of like the iron sharpens iron. I put my rock on all flesh.
I think they're giving that back to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm extracting that part through them. I'm giving them the word. Hey, y'all need all this word, all this doctrine, homosexuality, no bueno. I think they're already kind of like yes. A lot of them are like I know. I don't care for it no more, and I'm just taking over that brotherly love, ahaba, and what else? Yeah, build the army of Yahuwah. I guess I'll show you one more thing where it says that these curses will put on your enemy. So Yahoo Jeremiah talked about, you know, what was put on them, the curses put on them, and then I'll show you where it's put back on them. Alright, so this is Yahoo Jeremiah, and then we go to, I think even verse 18 touches on it. He says it a lot, Jeremiah. Yahoo Jeremiah. Let's see. Oof. 18. Yeah. For sure, though, on Jeremiah 6. So we're going to go to chapter 6. This is one of the curses right here. Alright. It says right here. It says in chapter 6. It says, and their houses shall be turned over to others, is the curses on Yasharal. Fields and wives together. So fields and wives are going to be turned over to others, given to others. For I shall stretch out my hand against the inhabitants of the land, declares Yahuwah. So that was put on us. Our wives were taken. And then where else it says? I think in chapter 7 also says it again. Let's see if I can find that one. It says, that's in chapter 7 too, but I'm just going too fast. Um, yeah, but let me show you. Let me show you where it's put back on them. Yashayahu 13. But nonetheless, do we see that in chapter 6? All right, that makes sense. Yep. Again, chapter 6 says, therefore I am filled, verse 11, therefore I am filled with the wrath of Yahuwah.
I have become weary of containing it. Pour it out on the children outside, on the company of young men together. For even husband and wife shall be taken, and the aged and the very old, and their houses shall be turned over to others. Fields and wives together. For I shall stretch out my hand against the inhabitants of the land, declares Yahuwah. And one of these tabs too, I was just reading the other day. I was bringing it up, talking about that too. I think it was the book of Judah. Let me see. Book of Yehuda even mentioned that. Let's see. All right, that's Jubilees. Just got done reading Don. And then Yehuda. Let's see what it said. It says right here. For with it says, ye shall make your daughters Shabbatim singing girls and harlots, and ye shall mingle in the abominations of the Goyim. So it's talking about the rebellion. For what things' sake Yahuwah shall, because of these things, Yahuwah shall bring upon you famine and pestilence, death and the sword, beleaguering by enemies. I think beleaguering is like when they come and siege you, like plundering and all that. Beleaguering by enemies and revilings of friends, the slaughter of children, the rape of wives, the plundering of possessions, the burning of the Haikal of Elohim, the laying waste of the land, the enslavement of yourselves among the Goyim, and they shall make some of you eunuchs for their wives. So all that happened, and so our wives got raped, and so we see that that's part of like the curses, and so again we see those curses put on our enemies, and this is just what Yahuwah put in me, that he gave me a little passion about it, only because no one else is talking about it. It's there, and I don't hear no one else talk about it. I don't know if they talk about this in private, but it's part of the truth, and it's something we should talk about at some point. So I'm here to talk about it. And so we go to Yashayahu Isaiah chapter 13, right? And this is talking about the army of Yahuwah. You know, I usually read all that, but just to give context, just bear with me a little bit, okay? Let's do it. It says, the message concerning Babel, right? Babylon the Great, the whore of Babylon, the end, Babel Tower. Her name is all the abominations on her head, on her head. It says Babel the Great, the mother of harlots, and she's filled with abominations on her head and all that. And so it's talking about that whore of Babylon, the Yahusha man Abamut saw. Lift up a banner on the high mountain, raise your voice to them, to the enemy, your hand. Wave your hand, let them enter the gates of the nobles. So that's talking about us coming into their into their company, like into their territories, right? Taking over. I have commanded my Qudashym. I have also called my mighty men from my displeasure, my proudly exalting ones. You know, gotta be a little bit proudly, gotta be a little bit, gotta be a little bit proudly exalting. The noise of an uproar in the mountains, like that of multitude people. A noise of uproar are the reigns of Gentiles. So it's talking about the Gentiles rising up against Yahuwah. Gather together. Yahuwah Sabaoth is also gathering an army for battle in context. They are coming from a distant land. From where? From the end of the Shamayim. So Yahuwah is bringing his army from above. Even Yahuwah and his weapons of displeasure to destroy all the earth. So we're his army. People don't understand the rapture taken up is only to suit up in the armor so we can come back down as the army. Howl, for the Yom of Yahuwah is near. It comes as a destruction from Al Shaddai. Therefore all hands go limp, every man's lap melts, and they shall be afraid. Pains and sorrows take hold of them. They are in pain as a woman in labor. They are amazed at one another. Their faces aflame. They're caught on. They're all being burned on fire. See, the Yom of Yahuwah is coming, fierce with wrath and heat of displeasure. There's context to lay the earth waste and destroy its sinners from it, the wicked, those who will not repent or turn and change. For the Kukabim of the Shamaim and their constellations do not give off their light. The sun shall be dark at its rising, and the moon, the Yarach, not send out its light. And I shall punish the world for its evil, and the wicked for their wickedness, and shall put an end to the arrogance of the proud, and lay low the pride of the ruthless. I shall make mortal man scarcer than fine gold, and mankind scarcer than the gold of Ophir. So it's going to be very rare, few men be left. So I shall make the Shamaim tremble, and the Arat shall shake from her place, in the wrath of Yahuwah, Sabaoth of multitudes and armies, in the yom of the heat of his displeasure. And it shall be as a hunted gazelle, and as the sheep that no man takes up. Gazelles fleeing, sheep running without shepherd. Every man turns to his own people, and everyone flees to his own land. Whoever is found is thrust through, and everyone taken falls by the sword. And their children are dashed to pieces before their eyes. This is returning the curses on them, because it's talking about Babylon. This is us coming down as an army of Yahuwah. And their children are dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses plundered, and their wives ravished. So now we get to take them women and ravish them. Some are just going to be ravished and thrown, tossed and burned, destroyed, whatever. Others, the ones that have the provisions, is going to pay off some, somehow. It turned out, they submit, they plea and beg. We'll keep you alive, we'll spare you. See, I am stirring up the Madim against them. Again, that's just according to their time, but it's a parabolic picture to represent what they're like. What are they like? Who do not regard silver. So all of you who are all about trying to gain all this extra wealth, I ain't going to be part of that army, because these are people who do not regard silver. And as for gold, they do not delight in it. I mean, it's context of destruction, but still, that's part of a characteristic. We ain't really tripping on that. We just thought we needed it, but we know we don't need it now, because you keep the Torah and the commandments, and Yahuwah Yahusha, he protects you divinely. You don't really have to touch anything, touch funds. He just provides. And bows dash the young to pieces, and they have no compassion on the fruit of the womb. They're raw. When it comes time for war, it's time, to destroy. Their eye spares no children. And Babylon the great, that has the world under its influence. The splendor of the reigns of the Kasdim, you could say even the World Wide Web, all the internet, all that's Babylon, internet version, internet universe reality. Babylon, the splendor of the reigns of the commonness of the Kasdim, pride, right? Gay pride. Shall be as when Elohim overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. So it's kind of related right there. You see LGBT pride, you see Sodom and Gomorrah. Yahushua is going to overthrow it. That's part of Babylon. She shall never be inhabited, nor be rested, established from generation to generation. Nor shall the Arabian pitch their tents, nor shepherds rest their flocks there. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be filled with owls, and ostriches shall dwell there, and wild goats frolic there. Just poetically saying it's going to be full of darkness, so it's portraying with the animals of darkness. And hyenas shall cry in their citadels, and jackals in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her yamim are not drawn out. She won't remain forever. Her yamim are not going to be drawn out forever. So praise Yah. I forgot the original thing I was going with about the treasures hidden in places, and we had to extract them, and I forgot where I was going with that. But nonetheless, everywhere I go, I feel like I got a little bit of treasure from every place. And but now's the time to proclaim the truth amongst the nations, wherever you've been scattered. Share, like, hey, you can either be a part of us, join us, or you're going to partake in the curses and serve us. And let me see your wife real quick. Let me see your daughter. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, we might keep you alive. Yeah, you get to be my servant. Yeah. So praise Yah. Let them know what's up, and then they'll give them rest. You see that? I was telling them that, and he just like, yeah, that's right, because it's already coded. The thing is, do you have the courage? The fight is to proclaim it. Just the word. It's like speaking light. Let there be light. Yahuwah didn't like stitch light. He just spoke the light, spoke truth. So you got to speak this truth. Rise, your light has come. You speak this truth. This is the light shining in the darkness. Everybody hears it, and they know, this is true. This is the right paradigm. This makes sense. All right, cool. I can dig. I'm ready for it. You know what I mean? Whatever position I gotta be in, and that's it. And it gets everybody synchronized and in place. You know, the women know they're ready once everything goes down. They already know where to come, where to cling to, where to bring their provisions to. Brock, you praise, yeah. And that's the Arab Shabat message, you know, and the cold blooded, or I'm not saying the hard stone, the real rock, foundational stone truth, you know, the cornerstone of Yahusha truth. So praise Yah, Barak Yahuwah Yahusha, trust his message edified you. And if I remember the other word, Barak Yahuwah, I'd say it for another time. But with that, I bid y'all farewell. Abba Yahuwah, Barakatah, favor you and increase you and guard you and protect you and strengthen you and keep you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you, be compassionate and favorable towards you. Yahuwah let his countenance and his presence and his essence upon you and give you shalom and fill you with all the fruit of the Ruach, that we be a light to the nations in this way, proclaiming the truth and Ruach in the truth, so that we be a light to one another, sharpening each other as iron sharpens iron, that we might prepare each other to be a perfect, spotless, pure virgin bride, prepared before Adonai nu, Eloheinu, Makiainu, Mashiach Ainu, Aishi Ainu, Yahushua Mashiach, that we might be worthy to enter the marriage wedding feast of the Lamb, to be brought into your chambers, Mak Yahushua Mashiach, that we be a Chad one, that we abide in you and you in us, that we be Tamim as you are Tamim, for you, Abba Yahuwah, Mak Yahushua, that make us Tamim in your image and Ruach HaKodash. To Palal and petition these things, Abba Yahuwah, Mak Yahusha, and Ruach HaKodash, with praise and Todah and gratefulness by the power of the Dam of the Shah, the renewed covenant, by your power and authority, Mak Yahushua Mashiach, Adonai Eloheinu, Adani Ali, Dur Dur Dur, Aman, Waman, Waman. Hallelujah, Yahusha. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Yahusha. When I do that, I'm saying it in the different dynamics and how I communicate with them in all the different realities. Like there's the physical manifestation, there's the one I put my mind to them, there's the one I'm speaking to them in my mind constantly. So it's like all those different ways to communicate all become one, connecting as one. And so with that, I bid you farewell. Shabbat Shalom, Yasharal, Shabbat Shalom, Mashpacha, Shabbat Shalom, and Yahavata.